One summer moment can change a child's life. Through Toys for Tots Give and Go initiative, your support provides books, games, toys, and outdoor adventures that spark curiosity, creativity, and a love of nature. Whether it's fishing, learning a new sport, reading under a tree, or playing with friends, these moments build confidence and lifelong memories. For too many children, those moments never come. You can help change that this summer. Visit toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots, delivering hope beyond the holidays.
Sid and Friends in the morning.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I mean, if we're going to put somebody on Mount Rushmore, let's get Sid Rosenberg on Mount Rushmore.
After lengthy and hard-fought negotiations, Mayor Mamdani and members of the city council reached a budget deal just hours before the midnight deadline.
And it's a deal that allows both sides to claim victory, including 30,000 more housing vouchers for New Yorkers, millions of dollars to investigate 9/11 toxins, and expanding transit discounts to 340,000 more people. Political reporter Marcia Kramer is here with that. And what else is in it, Marcia?
Well, Justin, KJ, Mayor Mamdani wanted his first budget to be a victory for working people. But in some respects, the city council may have one-upped him, holding out to almost the 11th hour for priorities the mayor was hesitant to embrace. But still, he got to bask in the fact that as a democratic socialist in the financial capital of the world, he got it done. They walked into the City Hall rotunda from opposite sides of the building for a handshake to seal the deal on a $125.8 billion budget, one that depended on the largesse of Governor Hochul to avoid new taxes on just about everybody except the owners of posh homes. The deal gave the freshman mayor, a democratic socialist, the opportunity to brag about his fiscal chops in the financial capital of the world.
I've been reminded of the words of the Austrian economist, Friedrich Hayek.
Oy.
If socialists understood economics, they wouldn't be socialists. If these past months have shown us anything, it is that socialists not only understand economics just as well as the capitalists who came before.
Despite a gaping $12 billion budget hole, the mayor avoided major service cuts because Governor Hochul came to the rescue with a massive bailout package, an extra $4 billion in state aid, pension relief, and class size flexibility that saved over $500 million. The governor blocked the mayor's call to tax the rich, instead approving a pied-à-terre tax on second homes valued at over $5 million. Council Speaker Julie Menin calling the deal
a budget we can all be proud of.
Menin also in her first term scored some major victories. An expansion of the Fair program, making an additional 340,000 New Yorkers eligible for half fares on buses and subways. A tenfold increase in college savings plans. Now every single public school kindergartner will have a $1,000 college savings account, up from just $100. And $6 million for the Department of Investigation to complete a long-delayed probe about the release of cancerous toxins at Ground Zero. But probably the biggest council victory was forcing the mayor to relent on increasing the CityFEP's housing voucher program. Now an additional 30,000 New Yorkers will be able to avoid eviction. Menin said it was aimed at the affordability crisis.
This crisis is not merely crushing the people of the city, but it is oftentimes pushing them entirely out of the city. So with a substantial investment to sensibly expand housing vouchers, we are helping to keep thousands more families in their homes and out of the shelter system.
But not everyone was happy with the budget deal. The mayor was slammed for apparently caving to his base with a last-minute reversal on hiring nearly 600 more cops. And the Citizens Budget Commission said the mayor failed to fix structural budget problems, which will leave the city with big budget gaps in the future.
Final day of its term, the Supreme Court issued opinions on 3 high-profile cases.
Yeah, 2 were in President Trump's favor. In one decision, the justices ruled that states can ban transgender athletes from women's sports.
In another, the court removed limits on campaign spending, but possibly the most watched decision involved the constitutional principle of birthright citizenship. And this ruling, the High Court struck down Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship.
Eyewitness News reporter Lauren Glassberg has more on some of the decisions and reactions from both sides of the aisle. She's in the newsroom with the very latest. Lauren.
Yeah, Liz and David, President Trump actually listened to part of the oral arguments in the birthright citizenship case in April. That was the first time a sitting president ever attended oral arguments. Ultimately, though, the Supreme Court struck down his executive order. The court's decision reaffirms birthright citizenship, which has been part of the Constitution for 157 years.
El pueblo está presente.
At Foley Square today, a rally to celebrate a legal victory, the decision to uphold birthright citizenship for all people born in the U.S.
Today's ruling comes as a relief for the immigrant communities who have been waiting anxiously over the past year.
Shut up.
But it's also a reaffirmation of who our values are, that all of our children should be treated equally.
Today, the Supreme Court decided 6-3 that an executive order cannot change the Constitution. The 14th Amendment grants citizenship to anyone born in the U.S. despite where their parents are citizens. It was designed to protect newly freed slaves after the Civil War. The Trump administration has argued that broader interpretations have led to immigration issues. Today, the Department of Justice said, quote, birth tourism schemes exploit our immigration laws and often violate our criminal laws. The Department of Justice will prioritize the prosecutions of birth tourism schemes across the country. While the president lost this legal battle, the Supreme Court has sided with him on other immigration issues.
The attempt to end birthright citizenship isn't an isolated attack. It's part of the Trump administration's broader campaign to go to war against immigrants who make this country what it is.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court also made a significant ruling on states' rights, upholding state bans on transgender athletes competing or playing on girls' and women's sports teams. The two states in this case were West Virginia and Idaho, but this decision could impact other states that have similar bans or embolden other states to enact bans. Athletes that were fighting the state ban said their rights to equal protection were violated. Their attorneys spoke today, calling it a narrow ruling.
This isn't a national mandate to ban trans athletes everywhere. It's a fight that's going to continue state by state, school by school. In other words, this really says that, sure, a state may discriminate, not that they must discriminate.
But certainly the ruling allows states to decide for themselves. Now, New York's Attorney General Letitia James saying that this is a dangerous and harmful path for the Supreme Court to take when it comes to trans people.
Right now, the United States and Iran are working to get back at the negotiating table. Special envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are leading the U.S. delegation in Qatar, with the future of the Strait of Hormuz remaining a key sticking point in the talks. With us now, former ambassador at large and coordinator for counterterrorism, Nathan Sales. So the president said after the latest counter strikes against Iran that Iran called up, they want to have talks with us. Well, everybody's over there, and Iran's not talking to the United States. What is going on?
Well, the Iranians need to make up their mind. Are they serious? And all evidence so far has been no, they're not. What they're serious about is they want to control the strait. And that's an absolute non-starter for the United States. This is an international waterway. This is not a private toll road for the IRGC. So the United States has been absolutely clear that the Gulf needs to be open for business. The strait needs to return to its pre-war state where it's freedom of navigation. That's a basic principle of American foreign policy for 250 years. Freedom of navigation. The Iranians don't get to hold hostages.
But that's been the message on the part of the United States throughout this process. So what needs to change or give at this point in the process?
I think leverage. The key to this is coercing the Iranians into behaving properly and not lashing out the way they've been doing. Right now, the Iranians think that there's a little bit of opportunity for them to try and drive wedges between the United States and Gulf allies to try and see what they can get away with. They're testing us. That is what they're doing. They're testing us like a toddler. And when your toddler tests you as a parent, what do? You don't indulge them. You show them tough love, emphasis on tough.
Yes, consequences for their actions.
Yeah.
But the IRGC doesn't seem to get that, because they take actions, they get the consequences, they go running to mommy to say, we want to get back to the table. And then when they get back to the table, they just keep doing the same old stuff over and over and over again. So at what point does President Trump say, you know what, this ain't working
today?
Let's go back to the way we were doing it before.
Let's go.
Make sure that everybody's okay first. Make sure China's got enough oil reserves that their economy doesn't tank. Make sure that our Gulf allies are in a pretty good position to get oil out, maybe through pipelines in Saudi Arabia. And then just go after the IRGC and say, you know what, you're done.
Yeah, that may be where this ends up, John. I don't think we're there yet. I think the president and his team are still willing to give diplomacy a chance. But at a certain point, you have to say...
But to what end? Because this just keeps going around the circle into nowhere.
Well, as we saw over the weekend, the Iranians lashed out and took a shot at shipping going through the strait. And it was really important that the United States responded in kind. We said, we established a bright line. We are not going to allow you to hold hold hostage all these ships. If we had backed down, the lesson the Iranians would have drawn from that was, we can get away with this, let's take it one step further. They know that there are going to be consequences if they take it one step further, and so my hope is that we continue to look for ways of using leverage over these guys, because they are not going to cooperate out of the goodness of their heart. They're only going to cooperate if we force them to do so.
Sports Radio 66, WFAN, New York.
This is New York Fan, created for America's first and best all sports station, WFAN. Hard, strong identification for an action-packed format.
The sports leader, Sports Radio 66, WFAN, New York.
It was on this day, 6 years ago today, July the 1st, 2020, that we lost him. He died. And I'm not going to spend all day crying on air like I've done time and time again over the years. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go upstate tomorrow night and see my mother, the great Naomi, 91 years old. She's doing great. I love the mountains this time of the year. We're going to go on Saturday night, me, Danielle, and Gabriel, and see the Doobie Brothers and Santana perform at that beautiful, beautiful old Woodstock spot. Can't wait to do that. That's going to be big on Saturday night. And I'll have an opportunity to see my three sisters and brother-in-laws and talk about my dad. So he did pass away 6 years ago today. You know, the time when me and John Katsimatidis, our great owner here at Red Apple, the time we got close was during that period. I didn't know John. When John ran for mayor, for example, back in, I guess, 2013, I was living in Boca Raton, Florida. I remember coming back to New York in 16, going to a Talkers Magazine conference, watching John Katsimatidis speak, and asking Mark Chernoff, who the hell is that guy? I had no idea who he was. And then when Cumulus basically destroyed all of our stations, thank God for Chad Lopez, who got a big award yesterday. Congratulations, Chad. You deserve it. Chad's great. John and Margot came in on their white horse, and they saved us. And they've done a great job with this station. John, Margot, Chad, all of them. When my dad was dying, John Katsimatidis showed what a good guy he is. And when my dad passed away, I remember I was living at the time on the Upper West Side. I was on West End Avenue between 104th and 105th. And I can walk right down the block to Riverside Park. And I spent a lot of time, both of us, me and Danielle, and the kids, Ava and Gabriel, between the parks. There are three right there, Riverside, Central Park, and Morningside Park. But I spent most of my time in Riverside. And I would walk down to the water, just look out there and get very introspective about my dad, my career. This is even before Bernard got sick. When my dad passed away, I remember I was standing there by the water, having a really hard time, and my cell phone rang, and it was John Katsimatidis. And he said, I'm sorry. And that was it. From that day on, the last 6 years, we have now forged this great relationship. He's a great guy. And hopefully I'll be here for many, many, many years, hopefully. But either way, whether I'm here or not, 6 years ago today, one of the worst days in my life, John Katsimatidis was there for me. So I think you're listening, John. I hope you are. And if you are, thank you. So I don't want to spend all day on that, but we did play the WFAN jingle because not only is today 6 years since my dad died, but today also marks the 40th anniversary, day one of WFAN radio. Now, if you love me, and millions of you do, we get great ratings, great, and you love this show, then you have to understand that WFAN is a part of me and Lewis. Part of the reason why we're great. All those years at the fan, working with Imus, Mike and the Mad Dog, Steve Summers, Joe Beningo, Jody McDonald. The list goes on and on. Mark Chernoff, Eric Spitz, all those guys. I had the chance yesterday to watch Kelly Turner speak. She's great, young lady who now runs all the Odyssey networks, 8 stations here in New York. And when I watched her, I sat next to my good buddy, Chris Olivero, who right now runs all those 8 stations and has run all those stations for quite some time, even when it was CBS, before it was Entercom, let alone Odyssey. So the fan started 40 years ago today. And when I'm inducted into the Hall of Fame coming up in October, even though, if you followed my career, there's no question the trajectory went straight up coming here to WABC. The last 10 years here at WABC is why I'm in the Hall of Fame. Certainly those 5 years at WFAN, 5 years every day, but filling in and trying to get back for 18 years played a major role in my radio career. And I'm still a sports guy through and through. I do news. I enjoy it. I love the political conversations. I do. But I love my sports. Whether I'm angry, happy, I love my sports. And so do you, Lou. So Lewis, believe it or not, was actually there at WFAN when they pulled the switch. Now, it didn't start off at 660 WFAN. It started off as 1050 WHN. I believe the very first voice you heard on that station doing a sports update was the current analyst for the New York Yankees, the great Susan Waldman. And the very first sports show that followed after Waldman did her update was a friend of mine for a very, very long time, the great Jim Lampley. But you were there day one, Lewis.
I was right there.
What was it like?
It was crowded.
What do you mean by crowded?
Well, there was a lot of people. To Susan's credit, there was a lot of people around the studio. It was a big deal. It was very big.
Was day one, was it the studio in Astoria, Queens?
Yeah. It was
Kaufman Astoria Studios.
It was in the basement.
So it was like Jeff Smulyan and all these people standing around her when she started?
I believe Jeff was there. Yeah, Mr. Smulyan, I think he was there. They had 2 program directors, one for the weekend, one for the during the week.
Who was the weekday guy?
It was a gentleman, John Pruder.
John Pruder, okay.
And he hired me. I remember that. Took 3 minutes.
Where did you come from?
I was working there already.
You were already there?
I was at HN.
Which was a country music station,
Correct.
right?
Yes. So I was working weekends and then running Met games, too.
Running Met games.
So he...
Was Chris at that point there or no? Chris oh, come on. The great engineer. Does all the Met games from Shea Stadium. Come on!
Oh, Magikowski.
Magikowski.
I actually don't think he was.
He wasn't there yet. Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I actually think he came on like a little while after that. And I went to school with him.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, he went to Fordham.
Fordham.
He's great.
Yes. So are these people like, I know Susan was in studio, but was Jim Lampley in Queens and Greg Gumbel and all these people?
Yes. And then Lampley started doing it from out in L.A.
Right.
And he would do that on a regular daily basis. So he ended up being middays.
So it was the morning show.
Greg Gumbel.
Greg Gumbel. And then Greg, the year after, in 1988, gave way to a guy you may have heard of, Don Imus.
Right. Then, and he was actually left. He was left out, Greg.
Greg was gone.
He was gone.
So in 88, when Imus replaces Greg Gumbel, is it Imus in the morning?
Yes.
And the man who used the word scumbag more than me out of the great city of San Francisco, was it Pete Franklin in the afternoons?
Yes.
Pete was great.
Yeah, so
Steinbrenner's a scumbag. You love to say that.
Yeah, he was very ornery, very cranky. But he couldn't start when FAN started because I think he had health issues at the beginning. I think he had a heart thing going on.
Okay.
So Lampley stepped in and did the afternoons.
Wow, Lampley was a big deal early on, huh?
Yeah, he was good. And I worked with him a lot. He was such a nice
great guy.
Really nice.
Yeah. I've got long history with, in fact, you'll hear from Scott Kaplan, my first ever radio partner, coming up at 8:30. He's in Los Angeles these days and San Diego. And Scott and I worked a lot with Jim Lampley on boxing, believe it or not. When Lampley did all the fights with George Foreman and Larry Merchant and Max Kellerman, all those guys on HBO. So Lampley owned a restaurant out in San Diego, him and Junior Seau. We did shows from his restaurant in San Diego. He has a vacation home in Park City, Utah, which for a long time was the only city in Utah where you can drink, have sex without going to jail because Utah's a Mormon state. And Lampley invited us out there a million times. I think Scott actually went. So we'll talk more about Jim Lampley coming up later on this morning. Who else was there day one?
Well, a lot of guys who had all been hired. People like maybe Summers was there. Ed Coleman was there.
Steve was there. Ed was there, yes.
And a lot of producers.
Was
that were
Ed
there.
Coleman there with Dave Sims?
I don't think
Not
Dave.
yet.
I don't think Dave.
Not
had
right
started
away.
Yet,
But
no.
very early on, they had the Coleman and the Soul Man, the midday show.
Right.
Sims is now the voice of the New York Yankees.
Yes, there was a lot of personalities there, and we had 3 meetings, I think, before in the cafeteria where they had everybody there to talk about what was going to go on.
And the truth is, FAN, when it started, was right after the Mets won the World Series. That's why they did it. The Mets, in fact, I believe that Ann Ligori, I love Ann Ligori. She does a lot of tennis and golf. I think she's still there. I don't know. She did a show, and she had Dwight Gooden, which back then was a big deal because the Mets had just won the World Series. So the Met World Series win was really the motivation behind starting FAN. But early on, they were getting killed. They were losing tons and tons of money.
They hired a lot of people from out of town, and they paid them a lot, and they were flying them in and out, actually.
It was costing them a lot of money.
A lot of money.
So when you look at the history of the Fan, and Mike and the Mad Dog played a huge role in the success, they came later. That was a Mark Mason find. It really all comes back to one guy, Don Imus.
Yeah.
If not for Imus, who didn't do sports outside of me, Mike Breen, Patrick McEnroe, Iron Eagle, Mike and Chris, if not for Imus, thered be no WFAN 40 years later.
Well, he definitely got it going. That's why. He brought the listeners, and then they started, hearing what the Fan was all about, and it caught on from there. I believe it to this day. I mean, without him, it probably would have fizzled.
It would have died.
I think.
Yeah.
Because the other markets were not doing all sports radio. This was where it was starting.
Started
in
right
New
here.
York.
Yep.
And boy, were those guys in culture shock when they came over from
You mean
from
McCord
Rockefeller.
and Rob Bartlett and Bernard? Yeah.
Yeah, Bernard came over with a pad and a thing, and I met him, and they were just looking at the basement, going, "What the hell are we doing?"
Well, they came from these posh Rockefeller Center studios to a place which all we heard about for years was we're collecting mold downstairs right next to the Lifetime channel.
I don't think they ever fixed it from.
They
those
never
years,
did.
Too. I think
No.
they moved things around.
Yeah.
And cleaned it, but it remained what it was. It was like the Sanford and Son studio of. Radio. But it was a great place.
No, it's a great
still
place.
great.
Where it is now, and I've done shows, many shows, from where WFAN is now, Hudson Street. It's an office building. You walk in, it doesn't feel like a radio station. It feels like you're going to work.
It feels like you're going into the doctor's office.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
You sit in the
Yeah.
waiting room and wait, and there's like 80 doctors.
There
probably.
was something charming about that dilapidated Old Queen studio, which I used to complain about every day. And now, listening to Kelly Turner speak yesterday, Odyssey, for example, has an FM sports station, new, I guess, in Los Angeles. That's the 4th sports station in L.A. I was in Miami all those years. They have 4. In fact, I worked at all 4. I got fired every couple of years. So today we celebrate 40 years of WFAN, which almost wouldn't have happened if not for the great Don Imus. And now today, in all these major cities across America, some of them have upwards of 4 sports stations. So when you look at the future of radio, I'm not talking about podcasting, and we can talk about music. It's still out there. We can talk about news talk. The one genre that still, I believe, rules the day is sports. It still is. People will listen no matter what. The world could be falling apart. Iran can bomb us tomorrow, and yet people will call the fan and complain about the Mets. You think I'm kidding? Todd from New Windsor will call the fan and go, come on, get Juan Soto out of here. We just got nuked by the Iranians, but Juan Soto's killing us. You think I'm kidding? These people love it. I had all those chronic callers. I had Jerome from Manhattan. He once said to me and Jody McDonald, the Yanks are done. D-O-E-N, done. Well, close. D-O-E-N, done. We had Val from Brooklyn. We had Joe from Staten Island. We had Doris, God rest her soul, from Rego Park. We had them all. These people can't get enough.
What were they doing before this station started?
Masturbating.
Oh, okay.
What do you think they were doing?
I just wanted to make sure I got it right.
Yeah.
Because
saving lives.
Because when you walked in, now you think you're a sports fan, right? You think you're a sport. You think you know stuff going on growing up.
Till you work at this station.
Now you walk into this freak show, and they are doing exactly what Sid is talking about. They are mulling over who is third, who is seventh, the lineup, and you just are inundated with minutia and stats.
Listen, we used to take calls.
It's loony.
The backup second baseman for the Mets. What are they doing in spring training? Who even thinks about this? Now, I will tell you this. I worked in Miami, 4 different sports stations, not even close to the same. They're very periphery when it comes to sports. So when the Heat, for example, picked up Shaquille O'Neal with Dwayne Wade, they won a championship under Pat Riley. They loved it. Then they got LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. They loved it, right? The Dolphins really haven't been good since Dan Marino. You know, the Panthers won 2 of the last 3 Stanley Cups, but hockey is relatively new in South Florida, my guy Vinny Viola. So the fans down there, they're not really good. And the folks that move there, that live in Florida now, from Chicago, Philadelphia, Boston, New York, they still listen on their phones to their city's sports stations. They're not calling 560 WQAM in Miami or 790 The Ticket to talk about the Miami Marlins. So a place like that, it's not the same. But in New York, in Boston, in Chicago, in Philadelphia, these people are retarded.
Crazy, insane,
crazy,
but deranged.
But it works.
It worked. It was, but just things that people don't know. Forget about what's on the air. Off the air in the newsroom, it was.
The fights there too.
It was a crazy.
I got in a million fights. Crazy.
Fights.
Russo, Beningo, Francesa.
It was nonstop.
It was nuts
all the time.
Yeah.
It was excellent though to work there.
Oh, it was fun. You and I had a great time together.
Yeah, of course.
We were drunk a lot. It feels like a different lifetime ago, Louis. I got to tell you.
Yeah, well, look at you now.
I know. I'm a Hall of Famer. You believe that, Noam?
I believe it.
Yeah. Well, you bet against it, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. You're on council going, no way. Somebody please call George Santos. What do you think, George? Is Sid going to make it? I don't think so. 40 years, WFAN. And again, not to promote another station, John's going, what is Sid doing? It's part of my history. It is. And it's still a great station. I love Chris Olivero. I love Craig Carton. I like Evan Roberts. I like Tiki Barber. I even like Boomer. So Boomer and Jill are going to speak today with Craig at Barrett. The 3 of them are their own panel together. Today's the sports day. Yesterday was the news day, news talk. Lee Harris was there, our great Lee Harris, who I have to say is doing a tremendous job. The Worldwide News Network, everybody at that conference yesterday was talking about that. So congratulations, Lee. You're doing a great job, really. And my panel was me, Larry O'Connor, who for some reason Noam hates, Mark Simone.
I didn't say I hated him. I worked with him for a short period of time. Nice guy.
You didn't say that this morning.
That's not true.
Kind of did.
Clearly,
I wasn't supposed to say that.
You weren't supposed to say anything I say off the air to you.
No, it's me, Larry O'Connor, Mark Simone. We love Mark, and Eric Erickson. And the name of the panel was Playing the Trump Card, and how News Talk Radio turns into basically hours and hours of Trump talk, which I don't do. In fact, what's funny is President Trump, who you know was a friend of mine, I'm a friend of his, I think he's mad at me. I really do. I swear I do. But lately, when I talk about Trump, all I do is criticize him. That's it. I can't stand the way he talks about Bibi. I can't stand the way he talks about Mamdani. I don't care who you are. If you say we are winning or if we won the Iran war, you're wrong. 100% wrong. Sorry, John. You're wrong. You didn't win anything. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. So I spend my time lately criticizing President Trump. You notice that, right? No?
Lately a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't mean I don't love him. Doesn't mean he's not the best ever. But as I often say, I can't look at a pile that's brown and say it's chocolate when the truth is it's duty. And this nonsense of sending over Steve Witkoff, who's absolutely lost. All right, he can make money in real estate. He's a genius. He has no right sitting in with world leaders. And I like his kid. His kid Alex is on the Holocaust Council with me. I don't know Steve. Bo Dietl knows Steve. He's in over his head. Him and Kushner sit there. They get nothing done. And J.D. Vance, who I believe didn't want this in the first place anyway, I know that for a fact, and I believe is also an anti-Semite. I really believe that. You know, he ain't getting anything done. So we have these stupid meetings. They don't even meet half the time, and when they do, they get nothing done. You are not going to do a deal with Iran. President Trump, I'm begging you for the millionth time, stop it. Stop it. We've won nothing. I don't care about the Dow Jones. The only way we win this is if you go back in there with a whole bunch of force and start killing these IRGC guys that are still there and still running the show and making life difficult for people in the Middle East and in America. That's how you win this war, okay? The Strait was open before we started the war. There was no naval blockade before we started the war. You want to win the war, blow these mother effers up. It's not that hard. And we come close, and Trump says we're going to do it, and he doesn't do it. They're a nice guy. I don't want to kill anybody. Great, then don't start the war. Don't start the war if you're not going to finish it. We've won nothing. Zero. Nothing. And we are really rolling the dice on these midterms. Because again yesterday, whether it's Colorado or now 9 different people in New York, these lunatics, these progressives, these radicals are winning all over the country. While President Trump continues to call Mamdani a smart, handsome, and good guy. Am I wrong, no?
No, I mean, last night you have this congresswoman in Colorado, Diana DeJette, who's been in Congress for 14 terms. Imagine taking down somebody 14 terms. Usually you get a job like that, you have it locked up for life.
She got smoked.
She did by this Democratic socialist, Malat Kiros, won pretty easily last
Cute
night.
girl, looks like a little bit like Milo Kunis, whatever her name is.
She's cute like in the AOC kind of cute way.
But she's a psycho. She hates Israel. I mean, look, let's be honest, okay? You want a really good platform, you want to win, just hate Israel. That's what we are in this country. It's so disgusting. And that's why you get angry at Trump and J.D. Vance. You want to win in this country? Anywhere. Denver, you had Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker was out in Denver yesterday, literally campaigning for this lady and others. You know what he said? He said, get ready, folks. We've got progressive Democrats coming to a city near you. And he's right. Hassan Piker, the guy who sat there with Mamdani and said on his podcast, America deserved 9/11. That guy, that mother effer, is in Denver and his people are winning. They are winning. And he hates Israel and he hates the Jews. But I'm the bad guy because I stand up for that. It has become crazy, Noam. What are we going to do about this, Noam?
I don't know that there's much you can do. Even in the governor's race yesterday, there was an upset in Colorado. You had the Attorney General, Phil Weiser, who has gone hard to the left. He beat Senator Michael Bennet in the primary last night. So now he'll likely win the governor's race in Colorado because things have gone blue there for a long time now.
Does he hate Israel too?
Don't know about that.
Probably does, right? What else you have for me? What else happened yesterday? But this budget, we'll talk to Frank Morano coming up. He knows everything.
Yeah, he can give you the details on the budget.
No, he actually called me yesterday, and I'm not going to share the details unless he wants to, because he needed a very important question answered before he voted, and he knows that the answer he needed, only one person had it, and he knows, or he knew, I should say, that I was the one person who can find out if, in fact, it was true. So between you and I, Norm, and now millions listening, I made the call, and I got Frank's answer.
Or can you give us a little more detail about what that was about?
I want Frank to do that. He's joining us in about 10 minutes.
So he asked you for a favor and you got it done? Is that what you're saying?
100%. But you needed to have some type of political power to get the answer for him, and I've got it. Well, we'll see if he brings it up, okay?
Okay, when's he coming on?
He'll be on in about 13 minutes.
Okay.
So the budget, $126 billion. Obviously, Hochul bailed out Mamdani the last time, right? So now he's up there with Julie Menin, and everybody seemed very happy. Now the cops are pissed. John Schell, I spoke to him this morning. He's pissed. Vinnie Valalang, who was elected again. Congratulations, Vince, as the SBA president. Great guy, great cop. He's pissed because in this budget, they were supposed to add about 580 new cops. Mamdani took it off the table at the very last minute. This was part of the discussion when Morano wanted me to get involved. And I have the answer why. But I can tell you this, that the cops and the firefighters are very angry in this city. Very angry, even though it looks like a lot of folks are very happy with this budget. What do you know?
Well, that's the same thing I'm hearing, but there's lots of people happy. He put away some money for a rainy day fund. People think that's a good idea, and same way Michael Bloomberg did. And he's funding these fair things where if you make less than $30,000 a year, you'll only pay half price to ride a bus or subway. He's going to continue that. And no doubt, Frank will fill in a lot more details, but those are some of the big moments from yesterday's budget signing.
What else is going on here?
We had this moment.
Did somebody get thrown in front of a train or something?
No, but, we had this mystery that was going on in D.C. with the New Jersey congressman, Tom Kaine Jr. He's been missing since March 5th. Well,
he's depressed.
Yeah, so yeah.
Everybody's depressed.
Well, his depression was much deeper. He ended up in a hospital. He thought he'd be in the hospital for a couple weeks, but he took to the House floor yesterday to say, no, the doctors told him he needed to stay a whole lot longer. And so we don't know a whole lot more than that, but it comes at an interesting time. He's in a very hotly contested race in his district there, Democrat running against him. It's a district that has swung to red to blue to red to blue.
District 7, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So,
and who's the Democrat? It's a popular person.
It's she's a former Navy pilot, and her name is going to escape me. But,
all right.
But so this is the big question: is what do voters think? And they were asking yesterday, people in that district say, hey, he kept this from you for 3 or 4 months. Did he have the right to do so? And you had some people who said, yeah, and then others said, no. If you're representing me in Congress and you're suffering from depression and hospitalized, I should know that as your constituent, as you're missing votes, important votes in Congress. So we'll see how that plays out in the November election, whether that hurts him or not. And then you wanted your grisly story. Well, here's a grisly story of the morning. This one out of Queens in Glendale at an elementary school yesterday. There was a custodian who came into the building. Now, there's no students anymore because school ended for the year. Smells a foul stench in the air. He figures it's rats, so he calls in the exterminator. Exterminator goes over to the school's chimney where the stench is coming from. He reaches in and he finds that his hand is on a foot and a leg. There's a body inside the chimney of the school 113 in Glendale. Now they don't know. Its body parts may not even be the entire body that was in there. So now they're trying to figure out how it got there and how long it was there. That'll be up to the medical examiner to figure out.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Where on the top 5 today is LeBron James is moving on from the Lakers.
Yeah, well, of course, that's all the talk. Will be Golden State. That's the number one betting, is that he'll go to Golden State, that he'll want to play there for a championship, and maybe he'll go back to Cleveland or Miami, where he was successful in both cities.
Danielle said Miami. It made sense because they got Giannis, right? The big star of the NBA, Giannis. He went to the Heat. And they've got Bam, and he won 2 championships there. Pat Riley loves him. No state tax down in Florida. So I know Golden State is the odds-on favorite. In Cleveland, of course, he's always going home. He's from Akron. But to me, Miami would be the best spot. Well, we'll see. And tonight we've got soccer, right?
Yeah, the U.S. plays Bosnia, and this is the knockout round. So I don't know if you've watched any of the matches, but they've been really exciting.
They
up
have
there.
been.
Yeah.
You know, Sophia Perez, who works here, she's into it with Ecuador. She's actually really into it. So I went to this diner around the corner. I go almost every day. I love it there. What's it called? The New York.
I think
It's not called a diner, but it's on 50th Street between Lex and 3rd. It's very good. And they were all dressed in their uniforms, all the people who work there. So the girl who works behind the counter, she's also, like Sophia, from Ecuador. So she was wearing that yellow jersey. Sometimes I can't tell the difference between Ecuador and Colombia. There was another girl, a waitress, who was wearing Colombia, but one of the waiters, he was wearing the green jersey for Mexico. And it turned out, I guess, Mexico beat Ecuador last night. 2-1, I think.
2-0.
2-0.
Or 2-0.
2-0.
Yeah.
So, yeah, these games have been pretty cool. So if we win tonight, we move on. And if we lose, we go home.
That's right.
Do we know we're playing next if we win?
We may. I don't know, though.
Yeah.
New York Luncheonette.
New York Luncheonette. Thank you, Louis. They used to have my picture up there for many, many years. Years.
I sat right under it.
I know you did. Many times. It was the picture Margot took, the great Margot Katzmatidis. I love her, too. With the sash, when they made me the ambassador for the Israeli Day here at WABC many years ago. And that picture was in the... And I got to tell you, I must have gotten 100 texts from people who said, oh, my God, I'm at the diner. What are you doing here? Why is your picture up at the diner? And the truth is, there was one day I was going to some local event, and it was a very heavy picture, and I went to eat something first, and I told the owner, he's a great guy, I forgot his name. I said, I'm going to leave this here. I'll be back tomorrow. I just want to eat lunch. I got to walk over to St. Patrick's Cathedral, and then I'll pick it up tomorrow. And he said, no problem. So I came back the next day to pick it up, and it was hung on the wall. And I said, you know what? It looks good right there. But I think they took it down because they painted. But I don't know where it is now. I have no idea. But you love that picture, didn't you, Louis?
I almost stole it, yeah.
Yes.
It was very close.
Pictures from everybody. Look who's here at the diner today. So,
Sitting right next to the picture of Ernie Anastas, no doubt.
Oh,
Who's
God,
at every
poor
diner.
Ernie. Yeah. I thought Ernie Anastas may go into the Hall of Fame with me this year. That'll be next year, I guess.
Oh, they should have done that.
They should have.
Yeah.
Bill Ritter's going in with me. Rosanna Scotto.
How's he not in already?
Maybe he is in already. That's the point. Could somebody check that? He probably is in. Anyway, he's missed. We loved Ernie. Frank Morano, Abraham Hamra, Brian Kilmeade, Peter King, Scott Lebedo, and my very first ever radio partner, this will be fun, Scott Kaplan, all coming up today. It is a big Wednesday morning on this Sid Friends in the morning. The great Mark Chernoff.
You are absolutely the comeback kid. Even I knew you were on NEW and was part of the company. And I knew you were talented, and I knew you were funny, and you were a little bit off-center, which is, I said, okay, that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. And I said, you definitely deserved a chance. And Steve Cohn was a big fan of yours, and said, yes, I think he's talented, I think he's good. I listened to some of your stuff, and I talked to you, and I said, it's definitely worth giving you a shot. And you're on air work never disappointed. It was just, your personal stuff at the time, a lot. And as you say, you were to blame for your own stuff. And I have to agree with that. Yeah. But you were able to come back from all of that horrible stuff. You straightened things out. And now look at your New York State Broadcasters Hall of Fame. What an honor. I mean, that's fabulous. The way, as I say, you are absolutely the comeback kid.
The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18-plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I got to get to to Frank Morano, but, you know, I'm not going to be at any one of these big events for July 4th. I'm not going to Washington, D.C. I'm not going to be here. And when I was a kid, the most exciting thing for me, Noam, you'll appreciate this. You're probably there, too, at some point. I would go to Monticello Raceway. Monticello Raceway, exit 104 off the Quickway. And it's probably the worst track in America. In fact, I went there one time. I hit a triple. It paid $11. Every horse in the race was 2 to 3. It's just a horrible track. But now they made it like into a Racino years and years and years ago. But they had this amazing fireworks display. And I've been going upstate New York my whole life. And we've got a place in Conneago, White Lake, New York, and can't wait to go this weekend, see my mom. So that was always my thing. I would go to camp upstate New York, Camp Winston, and go to these bungalow colonies, SGS, Cappies, play ball at Landsman's, you know all these names. And we'd go to Monticello. That was my big July 4th show. Because, let me say this to you, Jewish people never light fireworks. Never. Never. It's always a tough guy Italians. We had one guy, Uncle Ronnie, in my community. He came up with like enough fireworks for 5 states. And don't forget, John Gotti, God rest his soul, he put on the best fireworks display in the city every year. He did. People loved it. They loved it. They go to Howard Beach, Ozone Park, July 4th, and Gotti used to love to do it. But as you know, Noam, Jewish people, we don't like fireworks.
No, like sparklers are about as
right,
tough
sparklers,
as you get.
Right. And even that was like scared to death to do that.
Yeah.
You know? It's like a cigarette when it gets down to the very bottom. Right. I'm like, Mommy, my finger's starting to burn. And then clearly black guys aren't good at it either because Jason Pierre-Paul lost 3 fingers. The great giant pass rusher. Was it 2 or 3 fingers?
I
think 2.
I don't think it was 3.
He may have lost 2 fingers.
Yeah, I think 2.
So, wasn't so bad.
Suck it up. He's fine. It's not like he had a sparkler.
Did you light fireworks?
Well, my family, you're right. It is. I think it's more of an Italian thing.
It is.
Because I would go to my grandfather's house.
Because you would get illegal fireworks.
Yes.
Because you would shake the guy down.
Right. But one of my uncles was always the guy who came over to my grandfather's house.
Oh, yeah. Uncle Jimmy 2 times.
In the Bronx, and you're like, oh, Uncle Joey's got the fireworks and 2 bricks of firecrackers, just bricks.
Yeah.
And then all of the stuff that you'd shoot off in the schoolyard across the street.
But good stuff. Like you weren't like you're the type of kid, I know you. You were definitely putting M80s in people's mailboxes.
No.
Those pineapple bombs and all that, right?
No, we had those things, but my mother was scared.
She was.
Oh, my mother hated it. My mother's the Irish side.
Yeah.
Like, just keep that away. Lou, you don't touch that. No, don't. Yeah. You know, my father would be throwing, my grandfather would be throwing the firecrackers at my mother as she's coming up the stairs.
Well, I'm going to make one admission, then we'll go to break, talk to Frank. So, like I said, Jewish kids don't do it. So I grew up in upstate, and my 2 really close friends was a Jewish kid named Steve Goldstein and an Italian kid named Richie Boucheri. And Richie was good with the fireworks. He was Italian. And we would do a lot of our fireworks shows. They still do it. Down by the lake. That makes sense, right? Down by the lake. So we got boats, pontoon boats. You know, there's 177 homes in my community, and about 50 to 60 of those homes, maybe more, they've got boats down by the docks when you first come into our community. So we never did this stuff before. Richie did, but not me and Steve. It's one July 4th, and we're setting off all these fireworks. The next thing we know, we hear this relatively loud explosion, and one of the pontoon boats is on fire.
Sinking.
It's on. Now, we knew the homeowner very, very, very well, friend of ours. I'm not sure to this day if he knew it was us. We ran away, and the next day we found out that the fire trucks were there, and we burned down about 5 boats. This goes back about 30 years ago. I think we're past the statute of limitations. But I want to admit right now, I'm very sorry to some of those boat owners. It was us. We did it. We had no idea what we were doing. And we literally set 5 to 10 boats at the docks on fire. Isn't that great, Noam?
Yeah. It was 30 years ago? That'd be more than that.
Maybe even more.
Yeah.
I was probably about 30. Oh, my God, maybe 40 plus.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, you're right. I'll be 60. Oh, my God. Take a break. When we get back, the budget, $126 billion. We saw Mamdani, the scumbag mayor, and Menin, the Speaker of the City Council. And the guy that plays a huge role in that council used to work here. He was a great radio host. Now, he's one of our 5 Republicans out of 51 in a city council that has 46 absolute lunatics. Our good buddy, Frank Morano.
This is Sid on Sports.
Oh, my goodness!
Sponsored by Peerless Boilers on 77 WABC.
Justin Ellick here with your sports update, sponsored by Pete Morgan of Peerless Boilers. Go to peerlessboilers.com to find a deal under you. Peerless Boilers, the world's best built boilers out in Queens. Nolan McLean and 3 relievers combined on a 6-hitter. Francisco Alvarez and Luis Torrens both hit solo homers, and the Mets beat the Blue Jays 3-0 in the middle game of the 3-game set against Toronto. Up next for the Mets, Freddie Peralta is set to start this afternoon's rubber game finale of this 3-game series. First pitch from Citi Field is scheduled for 3:07 p.m. In the Bronx, Yankees lost 9-3 to the Tigers in the second game of the 3-game series against Detroit, sending New York to its season worst 6th straight loss, and now 2.5 games back of Tampa Bay for first place in the AL East. Up next for him, Will Warren will get the start in this afternoon's finale of this 3-game set with the Yankees trying to avoid being swept for the second straight series. First pitch from Yankee Stadium is scheduled for 1:35 p.m. Big news out of the NBA yesterday. LeBron James will return for an unprecedented 24th season in the league, but it won't be with the Los Angeles Lakers. James has informed the Lakers that the franchise can move on without him because he will play elsewhere. He's instructed agent Rich Paul to talk to everyone around the league who's interested and come back to him with what his options are so he can make another decision. Sources did reveal that the Golden State Warriors coming in as front runners to scoop up the great LeBron James as free agency opened in the NBA last night at 6 p.m. Cleveland Cavaliers and Miami Heat, of course, 2 teams that James formerly played for. They are also in contention for LeBron. We'll see what happens. Should develop rather quickly. Also, the LA Clippers have agreed to trade all-NBA forward Kawhi Leonard to the Toronto Raptors for Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, unprotected first-round picks in 2031, 2033, and a 2027 first-round pick swap and 2 second-round picks. So that puts the Claw, Kawhi Leonard, back in Toronto, of course, where he won a title in 2019, winning Finals MVP with the Raptors against the Golden State Warriors in that year's finals. And we're looking ahead to tonight, 8 p.m., live from Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. Team USA, round of 32 World Cup action going up against Bosnia and Herzegovina. That is your sports. Sponsored by Pete Morgan of Peerless Boilers. Go to peerlessboilers.com to find a deal near you. Peerless Boilers, the world's best built boilers. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Sid, this is Frank Morano. First of all, congratulations on your induction to the New York State Hall of Fame. The fact of the matter is this is long overdue. Much like Susan Lucci finally winning that Emmy Award, it should have happened a long time ago. You are a rare radio talent. You're somebody that understands that our job is to entertain, and you do it better than anybody. But unlike so many of these people that go on the radio with the intent of entertaining, you've actually managed to have an incredible impact on public affairs in this city and this country. And unlike so many people that have managed to strike that balance between entertainment and having a meaningful impact, you don't forget the radio community. You still go back and participate in events like the Barrett Media Summit and Talkers. There's nobody that does that. I've said that you're as influential as Bob Grant was at his height, and that's true. But the fact of the matter is, at some point, Bob stopped participating in the radio community for a variety of reasons. But I think it says a lot about you that you always went back and never forgot where you came from, both geographically, being a kid from Brooklyn, and professionally being a radio guy, even while you get to dine with presidents, mayors, and prime ministers. Congratulations. It's long overdue. My only complaint is that you're not yet in the National Radio Hall of Fame.
46-5 Democrats to Republicans in our city council, and about 25 of those 46 Democrats are outright lunatics. People like Che Osei, he should be in prison. Honestly, he should be in prison. He's a sick, sick guy. Plenty of women, too. But Frank is there, and yesterday was the vote and the budget, and he and I talked a lot throughout the day. So here he is, our great city councilman out of Staten Island, Frank Morano. Frank, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, Sid. Thanks for having me. Congratulations to you and all the sports talk folks on the incredible anniversary of the fan and everything like that. And I do have to say, it's like sometimes I listen to you, and if I wasn't living what you're describing, I would think this is hyperbole. I would think the Sid is exaggerating. And I'm listening to you, and the fact is you were integral into the conversations about the city budget yesterday. Here we are getting ready to vote on a $126 billion budget, and at least on the public safety aspect of it, you were integral in terms of me getting some answers that I couldn't get from anybody else. And as I said in that clip there, I think it's part of what makes you so special, not just as a radio talent where you recognize that we're actually here to try and entertain people, but in terms of somebody that's influential. I really do hope the audience realizes how lucky they are to have you.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. And you did ask me to do you a favor. I did it. I made a phone call. I wasn't really confident. I'm being honest, Frank, that person was going to call me back as quickly as they did and give me the answer you were looking for. But they did, and you're talking about safety. It's obviously about the cops and the fact that Mamdani at the very last second revoked adding about 600 cops, but it's not as easy as that. So I know John Shell is very upset, and I love Vinny Balalan. Congratulations, Vinny. He's very upset, but it's not as easy as that. So I made the phone call to the one person who would know, and I gave you the answer. So is it fair to assume that after I told you what that person said, you were okay with the answer?
Well, yeah. I mean, I believed it, right? We were told that there were integral elements of the public safety community that were okay with the mayor not hiring 580 cops, which he had pledged to do, and which the police commissioner, when she was testifying before the city council, indicated they were doing. And then, just so folks understand the turn of events here, I was set to vote for this budget yesterday. There were some things in it I liked, some things that I didn't like, and then around midnight, the night before yesterday, whatever, I've lost track of whatever day it is.
Monday night.
Monday night around midnight, the mayor tells the speaker, "Oh, by the way, those 580 cops, we're not giving you those anymore." And at that point, it's too late to negotiate. Everything is set. So, but there were a lot of other elements that I was uncomfortable with this budget. A lot of good elements, too. Any budget is some good, some bad. This was one where there was more bad than good. But this is the largest budget in New York City history. Think about this. Nearly $126 billion. Just a few years ago, we thought $100 billion was unimaginable. When government grows this fast, taxpayers should expect major improvements in public safety and quality of life and basic services. I don't think this budget delivers that, and it's ultimately why I ended up voting no on the expense budget. I did vote for the capital budget, but I just think this isn't just Republicans saying that this budget is filled with gimmicks. The Citizens Budget Commission, which is pretty nonpartisan, they're one of the city's most respected nonpartisan fiscal watchdogs, not considered Republican by any means. They said the budget has a huge structural budget problem and fails to solve it. They warned that it's balanced with these one-shots, with these short-term savings and cost shifts that leave taxpayers with a gaping hole next year. Our friend Vicky Palladino, when she voted yesterday, she pointed out that this is just basically a budget based on state bailouts. This is the fiscal equivalent, and I think we've both been in this position once or twice. This is the fiscal equivalent of paying your Visa bill with your MasterCard.
You're right. It's taking money from Peter to pay Paul, and Kathy Hochul bailed Mamdani out, so I'm not sure how Mamdani is able to take a victory lap. But you need to tell me, Frank, get real specific here with the audience, because you're in there, you're voting a yes and a no yesterday. Give me two things about the budget that you think really helps New Yorkers, and give me two things that you think we took it up the ass.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the on the good list, there's actually I'm the chairman of the Veterans Committee, and the city has been shortchanging veterans for a long time. And even though just about every agency saw a reduction, the Department of Veteran Services, they actually got a modest increase. It's still
what does that mean? Give me in practical terms. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, so in terms of money, that means we're going from about $6,400,000 to over $7 million, and that means if you're a veteran in New York City, you will the DVS, which does very good work. They are the Department of Veteran Services. They will be able to help connect you with veteran services, with benefits, with all sorts of other things. And as far as I'm concerned, we can't spend enough on veterans. And I think that was a very positive. The other thing, look, my district did very well, and this is, and again, I don't want to out too many private conversations here, but this, and again, you and I are kind of different in terms of how we like to handle things. I like to get along with folks, and I like to try and be accommodating. And I have, and you may disagree, and I understand why, but I have an enormous amount of respect and admiration for the current Speaker of the City Council. And she pointed out all the great things that Staten Island is getting in this budget. We're getting new parks, new libraries, renovations of firehouses. We're getting all sorts of very, very positive things. So Staten Island did very well in this budget. We got about $56 billion in capital money.
That's good.
We've never gotten this before.
That's great.
But in terms of the latter category...
hold on. Before you get to the bad stuff, why do you think... I don't feel that way about Julie. Look, there's no question that I was very angry with Julie Menin. I made it very, very clear on here and on Twitter. A lot of very famous people in this city, very famous, called me, you know this, and said, sit down with her. Go to David Goodside's place, the Beach Cafe, and have lunch with Julie. She actually likes you. I said, no, because there was no reason for her to call me an Islamophobe, not once, but twice, publicly. She doubled up on me like she did to Vicky Palladino, and I was pissed. But do I think she sold out the city yesterday? No. Do I think she has tried to do things to protect New Yorkers, especially Jewish New Yorkers? Yes. So I've come around a bit on Julie. Yeah. Look, I'm always going to be a little bit resentful. I'm not going to lie. But I don't hate her. Not even a little.
Yeah, no, it's just, I didn't mean to imply that you did. It's just, you have a tendency, and a lot of people that are just on the radio have the benefit of looking at the whole world in black and white. And a lot of times you're right. For instance, I think you said a while ago that chances are if you're on the same side as Mamdani, you're doing something wrong. And that's one of the reasons why after, I spoke about the budget yesterday, and somebody in the mayor's office that I've never heard of, that I've never spoken to, that's never reached out to me. They texted me out of the blue to lecture me about how I should be, how my words have actions or whatever it is that she was texting.
But I saw that text. Yeah. So you were kind enough to send it to me. What exactly was she referring to?
Well, so I spoke about why I was voting against the budget. And not only did I praise the Speaker for the capital investment in Staten Island, and I voted again for the capital budget. And I even praised some of my progressive colleagues because unlike the mayor, throughout this whole budget process, they were totally honest. They were honest about where they were coming from. They said, this is where we are. They stayed at the negotiating table. They fought for what they wanted to fight for. And look, even though we disagree about where the city should be, you can't say they were dishonest, right? The mayor was totally and completely dishonest. I mean, this guy was running around for 5-6 months. First of all, this was after talking about this manufactured fiscal crisis where we were going to have to raise taxes on everybody, and we were still going to have a $7 billion budget deficit, and magically that just disappeared, which leads me to think it was just an excuse to try to raise taxes. But up until 2 days ago, we were getting 580 new cops. This was a done deal. It wasn't, and the mayor waited until it was too late for it to be negotiated for him to say, like Animal House. You effed up. You trusted us. This is crazy.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I think she had an issue with. Basically that me calling the mayor out on this. But honestly, the mayor's behavior. Forget about spending more money than most countries spend. The mayor's behavior, and just in terms of being an honest broker, it's abominable. So, just to go back to the question you asked about what's not good in this budget. Joanne Ariola, she's a Republican from Queens. Your council member. She's the chair of the fire committee. She and all the Republicans and quite a few Democrats, by the way. She was pushing for a fifth firefighter on a lot of the fire trucks. And we all were fighting hard for a pilot program.
Which, by the way, makes sense. I'm back to watching Dennis Leary Rescue Me. I saw it 20 years ago. I'm watching it again. And my neighborhood in Bell Harbor, including my next-door neighbor, Billy, they're all firefighters. That makes sense.
Yeah, so basically we were all pushing for at least a pilot program that adds a fifth firefighter to engine companies. The FDNY acknowledged the safety benefits, and basically my take was if we could spend $126 billion, we should be able to make sure enough firefighters are on the rig when they respond to a house fire. That somehow they didn't have room for in the budget. The new cops they didn't have the room for. So we found tens of millions of dollars for what amounts to taxpayer-funded communications operations. I think it's a propaganda machine, the mayor's new community assistance unit. But we couldn't find the money to put more police officers on the street. That tells you everything you need to know about this administration's priorities. Mamdani is spending tens of millions of taxpayer dollars building what looks an awful lot like a government-funded political communication machine, whatever we want to call it, public relations, propaganda, whatever. But while City Hall is hiring people to shape the narrative and explain how good of a job they're doing, they refuse to hire the bare minimum number of cops needed to replenish the ranks.
No, listen. So in the final 60 seconds, when I start reading all these tweets and I'm getting messages from the cops and the FDNY, they reached out to me as well, and they're angry. According to you, they're right.
I believe so. And the other thing is, and I'm not disputing where the commissioner falls on her public position on this, but there's a morale problem. You talk to more cops than I do. There's a morale problem in this department. And even, first of all, in terms of raw numbers, we have fewer cops in Staten Island than we did 30 years ago, even though the population has gone up 150,000 people. So this is...
Well, that may be Staten Island, but just so the listeners know, when Eric Adams left office, he had no interest in adding cops. It's amazing. Former cop, great cop.
Oh, yeah.
The number was at about 31,000. To Jessica Tisch's credit, I don't think folks even realize this, but closer to 34 now. Now, here's the issue. 3,000 or 4,000 will leave at the end of the year, and the question is, can Tisch add another 1,000, which he did last year? I don't know. But the truth is, at least today, the numbers may be down on Staten Island, but they're up about 3,000 since Eric Adams left.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that. But again, because of attrition and retirements and more people eligible for retirement, we need to hire more cops. And again, it would have sent a message that at least this administration cares a bit about public safety. And unfortunately, I think that's government's first responsibility: public safety and basic services.
Agreed.
If you're spending $126 billion and still can't find room for more cops or a fifth firefighter, I think your priorities are way out of order. This budget spends like there's no tomorrow, and unfortunately, the taxpayers still have to live in tomorrow, and we're going to have to pay the bill for a lot of this nonsense next year and the year after that. The city is spending like it won the lottery, and the budget got bigger, but we didn't get any safer. I mean, think of how much larger this budget is than just last year. $10 billion. Wow. Did we get $10 billion more worth of services of public safety? Of course not. I mean, at what point do we take a breath and say we can't just keep spending endlessly?
I got to tell you, the best. Seriously. And I think you speak. No, I mean it, Frank, and I really believe you speak for the majority of New Yorkers. Certainly my listeners are like, yeah, Frank, we agree with you 100% because so many cops and firefighters and first responders, all those great folks love this show. So I want to thank you for your civic duty, doing a great job on the city council. I want to thank you for another great appearance this morning. And I want to thank you overall for what's really one of my favorite friendships. I think you're great. I love you. Thank you so much.
Obviously, I feel the same way. I praise you in all scenarios. You've been very good to me, both as a mentor in radio and politically when the chips were down and it was very difficult to be an advocate for me. You stood by me when very, very few others. And I just as a listener, one of the great benefits of my new schedule is that I get to hear just about all 4 hours of the show, and it means a great deal that I get to do that.
Thank you, Frank. Great job today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sid. And I, again, congratulate you on your Hall of Fame induction. Well-deserved. Have fun at Barrett Media today.
Thank you. Frank Morano, folks, there he is. He's also a great radio host, but city council member out of Staten Island.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first.
For 250 years, home ownership has been the cornerstone of the American dream. But that dream is under attack for many across the USA due to the rise in title fraud. But you can protect yourself with 25% off home title locks, $1 million triple lock protection. Please go to HomeTitleLock.com today. Use promo code BILL25 at checkout. Don't let yourself become a victim. Okay, here's a message of the day, and we appreciate you guys checking out BillO'Reilly.com on a daily basis. So the rise of this communist socialist BS took me by surprise a little bit. And the genesis of it is school and parents. When you are a child, you have to go to school. It's the law. And so at 6 years old, you march in. And if you are in an urban area, big city, chances are the school is controlled by the teachers' union, which is dramatically left, a progressive concern. Okay. So you sit down, and the teacher, not all of them, but a good portion, are liberal people, and they're telling you things that aren't true. Not about math and science so much, but about history and your nation and all of that. You're listening to, it's no longer George Washington chopped down a cherry tree or anything like that. Just listening to that. And then at home, your parents have abdicated a total responsibility for your education. So you're 6, you're 7, you're not getting anything from them. All right, they're on a phone, or they're doing whatever they want to do. They're not shaping your point of view. And so school and parents have driven young Americans into a world of delusion. And that's the truth. Trapped in a timeshare, fees rising every year while availability shrinks, resorts making exiting nearly impossible. That's why I partner only with Lone Star Transfer. This family-owned company is transparent, honest, respectful. They have helped more than 40,000 owners exit legally and ethically through a simple guaranteed process. No surprise fees, no unused vacations, no stress. Please visit LoneStarTransfer.com, or you can call 855-551-7066. Tell them Bill sent you today.
That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
This is Sid and Friends in the morning.
77 WABC.
Good morning, yesterday. You wake up and time has slipped away. And suddenly it's hard to find the memories you left behind. Remember, remember the laughter and the tears, the shadows of misty yesteryears, the good times and the bad you've seen, and all the others in between. Remember, do you remember the times of your life?
Paul Anka, Times of Your Life. My dad loved this song, so do I. And on this date, 6 years ago today, I lost my father. I dedicated this program to Harvey at the very top of this show about 2 hours ago. So before I get to all these wonderful guests, Abraham Hamra and Brian Kilmeade and Peter King and Scott Lebedo and my very first ever radio partner, Scott Kaplan, I just want to say, Dad, I miss you. I really miss you. And I love you. Abraham Hamra coming up next.
The seasons are passing one by one, so gather moments while you may collect the dreams you dreamed today. Remember, will you remember the times of your life?
You can depend on us. New York's talk station, 77 WABC. WABC, Traffic and Transit.
You're my best friend.
For more than 3 decades, he's been one of the most recognizable voices in New York radio. From breaking news to unforgettable interviews, from sports to politics, Sid Rosenberg has built a career on passion, authenticity, and never backing down from a conversation. Now that dedication has earned one of broadcasting's highest honors. Sid Rosenberg has been inducted into the New York State Broadcasters Association Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Hall of Famer Sid Rosenberg.
Talk radio. Let's point out some interesting things, and then
it's time we stop. What's that sound?
What the heck is going on in our country?
That's a big story.
And the problem is,
it doesn't matter.
All I can say.
What did you say?
A lot of very staunch critics on the other side. All I can say.
Ongoing allegations about corruption.
We've probably never seen anything like it.
They need to be held accountable.
All I can say.
What's that sound? WABC.
The views and opinions expressed by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily reflect the policies or positions of WABC Radio, its management, or its sponsors.
You talk. We listen. 77 WABC.
I'm John D'Agostino. Seriously injured? Call my team first at 1-800-BITE-BACK. That's 1-800-248-3222. D'Agostino Law Bite Back.
A station built just for you. Entertaining talk, information, and New York opinions.
That is the stupidest, dumbest, most idiotic idea I ever heard of.
The world famous and American original. Talk Radio 77 WABC and WABCRadio.com.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
Entertaining and informative.
Oh, you're my best friend.
77 WABC.
All right, so you guys know that I speak to Bruce Blakeman just about every day, and I may have been the first, maybe not the first. I imagine Cairo or King or Finton or one of those guys was the first, Chris Boyle. But I was one of the first people he came to months and months and months ago and said, I think I want to run for governor. And I said, do it. Kathy Hochul is a wicked witch, an evil, vile, wretched, not a nice person. Stop with that nonsense. She's not a nice person. And you can win. So we talk about every day, and I'm helping put people around him that can help him win. Because if he doesn't win, we're dead. It's really that simple. That's it, folks. If Bruce Blakeman loses, and you've got another 4 of Hochul, then you're pretty much guaranteed 7 more of Mamdani. We're dead. We're dead. So I got a buddy. His name is Abraham Hamra, and all the Jews know him because he's all over Instagram, and he fights really hard for the Jewish people. But he's Persian. He's Arab. He's a great guy, lawyer, immigration lawyer. My wife Danielle actually worked with him for many, many years. Him and Rachel became part of the family. And he now is part of the Bruce Blakeman team, which makes me very happy and Bruce happy. But the way it happened, I think may raise a couple of eyebrows. So with that said, here he is. I love this guy, Abraham Hamra. Abi, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, Sid, and good morning, everybody in New York. I'm doing great. How are you?
I know you're doing great. I'm well. Tell everybody, we've got about 8 minutes, so tell everybody you went the other day to be confirmed, to be part of this team, and tell everybody the nonsense that you went through to get there.
So County Executive Bruce Blakeman appointed me to the Planning Commission, to the Nassau County Planning Commission. So I truly didn't expect we were going to have an issue at the confirmation hearing. I get there. There's 2 other nominees with me at this nomination, both also County Executive Bruce Blakeman nominees. We get there. I was the only one out of all 3 nominees that did not get a co-sponsored minority Democrat nomination. Now, you'd think I did something to the Democrat Party. I went out. I'm a loud advocate against the Democrat Party. You know me, Sid. I've never been super political. I'm always issue-based person. I don't care about party affiliation, but what this showed me today is the division that exists within this country, and the path that the Democrat Party is taking is going to tank this country unless something drastic happens to change that party completely. They all voted against me while Mazi Pilip was talking about my story, about how I was displaced as a refugee, how I stand up for civil rights. You had them, the Democrats, sitting on the other side. My wife was sitting right next to me. You know, Rachel, she's not as insane as I am. She was in disbelief. She's like, they were rolling their eyes, looking at you nasty. Like one of them was staring at me with such hate. You would think I spit in between his eyes. I didn't even know the guy's name until after I went back to look up his name. I'm like, why is he looking at me in such a way? What'd I do to him? I think his name was Carrie Solange or something like that. It was truly befuddling to me how they all jumped and screamed nay to my confirmation. Keep in mind, this is the Democrat Party, right? This is their loyalty. I want every listener to hear the loyalty of the Democrat Party. 2 months, not even 2 months ago, I was standing with Tom Suozzi, who's running for re-election as in Congress for the 3rd district.
Yeah, just so you know, I'm enthusiastically endorsing the guy running against him. He was in these studios on Monday, Mike LaPetri. But go ahead, continue your story.
Oh, but Sid, and you know what? I'm joining you. I stood with him, and I thanked Tom Suozzi. The Democrat Party, a month later, spits in my face with such an act, embarrassing me at my confirmation hearing, doing nothing to the Democrats, even though this party has refused to step up and support the American way, American values, protect Christians, protect Jews. It was disgusting.
Wow. So, look, I mean, I'm a dick. I admit it, okay? I just am. And I hate the Democrats. I hate them. I even have family members and friends that I speak less and less to. I still love them. But I just have nothing in common with them, nothing. And I really believe the Democrats are evil. And I don't talk about the progressive versus the moderates versus the DSA. As far as I'm concerned, outside of John Fetterman, there's not a decent Democrat in the country. Sorry, Bob Holden. There's not a decent Democrat in the country. This nonsense that people talk about, the common sense Democrat, they don't exist. But that's me. I'm a very black and white guy. I'm not a very gray guy. You're not. You explained it. Immigration attorney. You're Arab and Jewish. You make arguments for just about everybody. But is it fair to assume now, after the Democrats embarrassed you in your own backyard with you and your beautiful wife, Rachel, that Abe Hamra may turn out to be more like Sid Rosenberg?
I am completely done with the Democrat Party at this point. Wow. The way they embarrassed me, it was so disgusting. I'm an immigration attorney. I'm the person of color they continue to, throw out there talking about how they support people of color. I'm an immigrant myself to this country, a refugee who had to rebuild his life. I stand up for civil rights. I represented escaped slaves from Mauritania in asylum cases, and they're going to vote against me for what? What value do I hold that is against liberalism? What value do I hold that is against individualism?
Right. So what is it? Is it the fact that you're Jewish? Is it the fact that you want to help Bruce Blakeman? He's a Republican candidate. What is it? What do you think?
I wish I was the only person that showed up to the nomination. I was wearing my kippah, wearing my Magen David loud and proud. I speak very clearly, and I oppose any politician or any policies that affect Jews. As of late, there have been more policies being pushed from the Democratic Party. I don't like throwing out the term anti-Semitism. I truly don't. And so that is the last resort of my suspicion, but I truly have no idea what I did to them to deserve such treatment that day.
No, you love Bruce Blakeman. Again,
he's the
right.
best.
You're a great neck guy, both in Nassau County, and you know that if this state has any future, that he has to win. So what exactly will you be doing moving forward?
So I'm going to be serving on that commission in Nassau County. And I'm also, at this point now, I'm my mind has been set to helping Bruce Blakeman in any way I can to win the governorship. Because without him at the helm, Kathy Hochul, as you said, will run the state into the ground. On top of that, Sid, after that embarrassment, I've made up my mind that I want to explore seriously, very seriously, a run for office. I want to make the change that I continue talking about because I know I can help this country. I know I can revolutionize the Republican Party, and I know the Republican Party has a chance in New York as long as we talk about the correct issues, the right issues, the issues affecting everyday Americans like affordability, and not allow these socialists to hijack these important human issues and lie and deceive and gaslight people to their detriment. We could be the party that helps people.
How many years, be honest here, Abraham, how many years have I been telling you need to run? Now, be honest, how many years have I been telling you need to run? Honestly.
It's been, I think, a year after I met you, not even.
4 years.
It's been a while.
4 years I've said, AB, you're the right guy. You're the right guy. You're not afraid. You're very, very smart. You represent a million different types of people, not just the Jewish people. You're ready for this. Now, I know Chuck Schumer. I don't think Chuck Schumer is going to run. That's my guess. I think he knows that he will eventually get wiped out by AOC. That's assuming she wins. Maybe a really good Republican like you comes along. I don't know. So I don't think that Chuck Schumer is going to run anyway. But that seat is out there for the taking, and there are others. Are you ready to announce exactly what political office you're looking for?
So I am currently contemplating that seat in particular, Chuck Schumer's seat. He's been my arch nemesis in a way, of a person that's grandstanding about his values, but betraying every single value he said he held. Him, AOC, I think that whole gaggle of individuals do not scare me, and I'm going to be speaking to an election attorney hopefully soon. I'm going to be speaking to my wife, my business partner, trying to figure out how exactly I'm going to do this. But this is something that I truly want to pursue because I believe that I have a shot, even if it is AOC, I have a shot to taking her down and preventing her from taking the Senate seat.
I love it. I really want you to do it. And, of course, I'll be, like I do most of the people I love, enthusiastically endorsing you and helping you because I think that this state needs more Abraham Hamras. I mean, the big problem is not only are we outnumbered in this state, but quite frankly, when Curtis Sliwa becomes your best chance, you know your party is a pile of dog shit. Excuse me, you got to dump that. But that's what we've got here. So we need more people, young guys. You're still young. And you're angry, and you want to fix stuff. That's what this party needs. We need you.
I agree.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, listen,
Thank you,
we'll
and I agree with you.
We'll get the ball.
100%.
We will get the ball rolling today. Great job. Sorry that you and Rachel had to go through all that with those lousy Democrats a couple of days ago, but it's just showing you that what I've been saying to you for years is right. They are lunatics. They're bad people, and if that forces you to run for office, then that was a good day. Abraham, great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Have a great
Take
day.
care. Best to Rachel. That's Abraham Hamra. And I'm telling you, folks, he's got a big political future right here in New York. We'll take a break. When we get back, he follows me each and every morning on this station.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
On Sunday, I was up at 4:30 a.m. Why? Because Fox News sent a car to my Queens residence at 5 a.m. on Sunday so I could make an appearance on the Fox and Friends weekend show with Rachel Campos Duffy and Charlie Hurt and Griff Jenkins talking specifically about the Iran conflict. So I go there, and I think the three of them, especially Rachel, who I speak to quite a bit, expected me to kind of be in line, you know. Trump's doing a great job, and we're winning the war, and things look great, and the economy is on the upswing, and we basically won. And that's not what they got. Not even close. So it turned into kind of a back and forth between me, Rachel, Charlie, and Griff. And I have to tell you that people really enjoyed it. But the first text I got when I was done came from the guy that's one of the three hosts during the weekday Fox and Friends show on Fox News, the same man that follows me each and every weekday morning here on WABC at 10 a.m., and the host of my favorite show on Fox News, 10 p.m. Sunday nights, One Nation, Brian Kilmeade goes, Sid, I just watched you. That was perfect. You actually said perfect. Why was that the case, Brian Kilmeade?
Well, a couple of things. Today in the Wall Street Journal, they write that Trump got briefed. What would all-out war look like if we just end the talks? And what if we continue? And he decides for now to continue. Did speak to him yesterday. Did say he's had a series of war meetings. This obviously is it, and I don't think he minds. I don't think he minds what's in the Wall Street Journal. I mean, I'm done with these. These talks are a joke. And I'm listening to what the Iranians say, and I'm perfectly willing to say they're not being honest about what's going on in the conversation. But they had no conversations yesterday in Doha. And I don't really listen to J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is just spinning it. He didn't want the war to begin with, so he's leading the delegations, but he's more concerned about selling his book. And what we want is a result. This is the only president, as you mentioned, to take on militarily our enemy. Oh, you're building a nuclear weapon? You're continuing to do it? We're telling you not to? I'm bombing it. Oh, you're gonna dig it out. You're gonna continue. You're gonna harass your neighbors and foment unrest with your proxies. We're gonna hit you harder, that like you've never been hit before. We're gonna kill your 86-year-old Ayatollah and wipe out 80 members of your leading government, and then along with the Israelis, assassinate almost all legitimate leaders of that country, leaving some real crazy incompetence left. Hoping that the Iranian people will be able to step up, but knowing that they're unarmed without a Second Amendment, it's going to be tough. So now we're in a situation where we're talking to a bunch of lunatics, some of which are pretending to be moderates. And I think that Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are two sincere, smart, nice guys. I think that they're not going to produce anything, and I think you see that too. And we just see this. They think that by dragging it out, gradually taking control of the strait, they will have their virtual nuclear weapon, and you're frustrated as well, and you got the perspective because you were just in Israel, who were told now they're roped into this deal, and they're thinking, you didn't even consult me on this deal, and now I'm supposed to go leave Lebanon and let Hezbollah set up on our doorstep again? They're not doing that. So we're pretty much nowhere at this point. And you picked that out.
Wow, I'm surprised that you're in total agreement, because I've got people here at the station, for example, that are Trump sycophants just like me, and they're telling me, no, we won. I mean, look at the Dow Jones. Folks, about 97% of this country, if they are lucky enough to go to Red Lobster on a Friday night, they're winning, okay? They're not. The Dow Jones is not part of their life, or the S&P. Here's what they want. They want to be able to afford eggs. They want to be able to get, a house, so interest rates need to come down. They need inflation to come down. They don't want wars. So the idea that, no, we're winning because the Dow Jones is up and the S&P is up and your 401k looks better than ever. For the majority of Americans, Brian, that's not true. I think I spoke, and you did just now, for the majority of Americans on Fox News on Sunday.
Yeah, I see. I love that we took on Iran. Some people aren't happy about that. I love that we did. I just would like to finish the job. And then knowing that it's going to cost gas prices to go up, if we just went for 2 or 3 more weeks when we were at it, the biggest mistake we made was doing that ceasefire to begin with. I think the president got a little freaked out when our plane was shot down, wondering what's going on with their air defense. Well, they got lucky, and they might have gotten lucky again, but they would have been destroyed if we just finished the job. So that's really my frustration now, because I like the idea that he's doing it. So I just don't like the idea of if they survive, they win, and that's the perception in that area.
No, that is not the perception. That's the reality. Look, Midnight Hammer was amazing. I also loved Operation Epic Fury, but for the last couple of months, you used the exact word that I used on Sunday. We're nowhere. You can't argue that. We are nowhere, and I was in Israel like you pointed out. I got to tell you, Brian, a couple of months ago, if President Trump would have run against Bibi Netanyahu for prime minister in Israel, he would have won easily. Now, I know it's anecdotal, it's just me, but I spoke to a lot of people in a lot of different towns and cities in Israel last week. They are angry. Forget about frustrated. They are angry with President Trump. They feel like he stabbed them in the back. The word betrayal was used time and time again. Do we not care about that?
Yeah, I mean, as part of negotiations, I think they'll recover depending on how this ends. But, you know, the president wants a quick end, and he doesn't understand that one thing I don't think he gets. He's like, let Syria finish the job. Syria finished the job. They barely have an army. They have no missile defense. Hezbollah's got rockets because Syria hates Hezbollah. The whole region hates Hezbollah. They're a bunch of thugs, and they were kicked out of Syria after the Russians stopped protecting them because they were gummed up in this Ukrainian war, and now they're about to lose the Ukraine war. Keep your eye on what's happening over there. They're now able to reach almost every major city, and these crazy lines in Moscow, nobody can even get gas, and they live on a gas station. So this is the story. So the president just wants this done, and I understand that because he's got so much more to do, but this is going to take a little bit more time. This is an entrenched radical regime that has built a bunch of fail-safes should they ever be attacked. And unfortunately, we have no allies with any spine or any military that's going to help us out. And even Saudi Arabia and Qatar are cutting survival deals rather than what UAE is doing, Bahrain and Kuwait, saying, United States, we'll fight this with you. And I really appreciate them more than ever. But I'm watching some Middle Eastern television. You were living it. I have to watch it from here. And they were saying that there's a real schism in the Gulf states because they're just afraid. The West is afraid. This president says, no, I got to do what no other president's going to do. So you and I don't want that to go by the boards. He is doing it. But I think in the end, if he just goes and combines again with Israel, who said we're going to attack within 48 hours if we get hit by Iran again, we go by with Israel and just finish them off. Now, the question is, in November, I guarantee you he does. We have to get to November. What I also talked to people that told me, in fact, it was on yesterday, who have Middle Eastern ties to Iranians that used to live there, that the goal is to make Donald Trump Jimmy Carter, ruin his election chances by destroying the midterms for him and his party. They know our election cycle. So they're going to create unrest in October if we don't do something about the cadence of these talks. So there is no good answer except the military answer. And I think we both agree on that.
100%. This is the great Brian Kilmeade. He follows me 10 o'clock every morning right here on WABC, Fox and Friends, One Nation. Great show, 10 p.m. Sunday nights. You know, I was critical of President Trump in Israel, too, not just for the Iran war, but the way he talks about Israel, specifically Bibi. You mentioned J.D. Vance earlier. I've got no use for J.D. Vance. Somebody needs to guarantee me right now that Marco Rubio is our nominee in 2028. I don't like J.D. Vance even a little, okay? But, you know, we talked about in Israel how he talks about Israel and Bibi Netanyahu, how he's quick to go out there and criticize Bibi.
I know.
But he says these wonderful things still about Mamdani, and I don't know about you, Brian, but I'm watching all these progressives. I know Hickenlooper held down, but he's a bad guy anyway. I'm watching all these progressives win all across the country. I watched what happened here in New York last Tuesday. It's terrifying.
Oh yeah, it's not a New York story. It's a Colorado story. It's a Maine story. It's everywhere. Good news is Susan Collins is winning. I hope Mike Rogers stays the course, holds on. In Michigan, he's up by 1 or 2 points, but he doesn't officially have an opponent yet. But in Colorado, Hassan Piker is the new kingmaker, and the old man on the inside, Bernie Sanders, is the godfather. So that's what happens, guys. When you sell your soul and let everybody run who's not even in your party, now all of a sudden you have Bernie Sanders, who got wrong twice. He did. But you idiots let him run as a Democrat without making him become a Democrat. And now he's taken over your party like a tapeworm. So good luck, guys. It's bad for the country. My hope is it's a resuscitator. It is a life back for the Republicans in this midterm, where people say, yeah, well, I don't love X, Y, and Z, but I'm not electing these lunatics who hate the country and hate Israel. That's my hope. But, Sid, I just want to remind everyone, I got to run back to the set now. But I got to remind everyone what's coming up October 17th in Westbury Music Fair. You have promised the brand new show, Uniting the States. You'll be on stage, right?
Can't wait. I'm so excited. That's coming up October 17th. And quickly, give me in the next 30 seconds a rundown of what we can expect on One Nation coming up on Sunday night.
Well, I got Doug Burgum's going to review what's happening on the 4th of July. I'm going to be live Saturday night on our panel for 5 hours in Washington, D.C., and I'm going to rush back to do the show in New York. We're just putting together the lineup now for that. I'm going to meet today because I just got back from D.C., so I'm putting together the show tonight, but I know that Doug Burgum, and then we got historian Douglas Brinkley, is going to put into perspective what's happening in the opening of the Teddy Roosevelt Museum, which he had everything to do with. And, I did Teddy and Booker T. Everybody on Long Island in New York loves Teddy Roosevelt. You should. He's so much like Trump, and Trump's making sure to show up today for the opening of that, for the opening of the museum. I'm also going to have Linda McMahon on, talking about where we're going with education, student loans, and also where history has gone in our country. People don't even understand. Smart people have no idea what happened to the Revolutionary War, have no idea what our country's about. And we're just going to talk about how to get history back in our curriculum for the 5th graders, the 3rd graders, the 11th graders, let alone if you want to major in college. Can we please you will understand why the country's great if you understand what great things we did to make a country.
You're great. I got to be honest. You really are, Brian. I love listening to you. You're so smart. I mean it. You can talk about everything from LeBron James leaving the Lakers to the Revolutionary War. And whether it's every morning on Fox News, following me every morning on WABC, or Sunday nights on Fox News, you're always great. Brian Kilmeade, thank you so much.
All right, Sid. Thanks. So I'm back at you. And seriously, great job on the couch. And hopefully they make you a regular on the weekends.
Thank you.
You need to work 6 days.
Thank you, Brian. Good luck tonight with America, too. We're taking on, of course, Bosnia in soccer. We've been talking about this morning as well. The great Brian Kilmeade follows me each and every weekday morning at 10 o'clock right here. One Nation, Fox and Friends.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We'll see Lewis later on tonight and his lovely significant other, MJ. Tonight at the Rockaway Republican Club, my friends Mary Glynn, Margaret Powers, Paul King, America 250 celebration, cocktails at sunset. It's going to be at the Wharf, which is a really pretty place right on the water in our neighborhood, me and Lou. The Wharf starts at 7:30 tonight. It's with Sid Rosenberg, WABC's #1 morning show. That's me. So there are some, tickets still available. I think it's $75 per person. You get whores, the overs.
I love that.
You love that?
Nothing like free whores.
Yes, free whores and an open bar. Later on tonight at the Wharf, the beautiful Wharf in Bell Harbor, it is America 250 with the Rockaway Republican Club. And before I get to my buddy Scott Kaplan, quick congratulations to my big boy Gabriel. I coach Gabe's basketball team, the St. Francis Summer Basketball League, which is an incredible league. Lou, you've seen it. These are really good ball players.
They're good, yes.
These games are packed. Hundreds of people show up every night. It really is a very tight-knit community, and they all come out to watch our kids play basketball, all ages, boys and girls, and Gabe's team in the high school league. We're now 2-0. I coach the team. I am Mike Brown. I'm not good. I really am. And I want to congratulate all the kids last night. My assistant coach, Ryan Moran, my son, Gabriel, his good buddy, Will, we call him Berth, Ty Duffy, Mike Jarantino, Tom Healy. In fact, Lou, the name of the team is Healy's Bar, which is that great bar right across the street from the Rockaway Hotel. Yes.
Nice.
And Thomas is probably my best player. And his parents own that bar. Great player. So Thomas was there last night, and Ryan and Ronan and Jaden and James and Henry and Jamie, I should say. So my kids are great. We've got 11 really good ball players. We're off to a 2-0 start. And we play 2 games next week, 7 o'clock next Tuesday night and 8:15 next Wednesday. All right, next hour, Scott Lebedo. He is live at the Great American State Fair in Washington, D.C. The former great Congressman Peter King, he'll be here too, but coming up next, my first ever radio partner and my brother. We've been buddies, best friends, now for the better part of almost 30 years. Scott Kaplan, back on Sid and Friends in the morning.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The great Mark Chernoff.
You are absolutely the comeback kid. Even I knew you were on NEW and was part of the company, and I knew you were talented, and I knew you were funny, and you were a little bit off center, which is I said, okay, that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. And I said, you definitely deserved a chance. And Steve Cohn was a big fan of yours. And said, yes, I think he's talented. I think he's good. I listened to some of your stuff, and I talked to you, and I said it's definitely worth giving you a shot. And your on-air work never disappointed. Never disappointed. It was just, your personal stuff at the time, a lot, and as you say, you were to blame for your own stuff, and I have to agree with that. Yeah. But you were able to come back from all of that horrible stuff. You straightened things out, and now look at you in New York State Broadcasters Hall of Fame. What an honor. I mean, that's fabulous. The way, as I say, you are absolutely the comeback kid.
Scott Kaplan, who had experience at a station down there, 560 WQAM, with Hank Goldberg, started this radio division at this internet company, and he liked me. And he gave me an opportunity on his show, which at the time, again, was strictly an internet radio show. But we were good. We were real good. 2 young kids. And, he knew more about the radio business than I did. I had no idea. But we were good enough to eventually be syndicated on terrestrial radio and traded to 102.7 WNEW FM. And like most radio partners, we had a tough time, just like I had with Craig Carton and others. But for a long time, we've been very, very close. And I love him. I legitimately love him. He's a great radio talent. He taught me a lot about this business almost 30 years ago. He's an even better guy. He's on 710 AM sports radio in Los Angeles. He does stuff in San Diego as well. And he's my main man, Scott Kaplan. Cap, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Hello, Sydney.
Hello, Scotty.
What's going on, man?
Are you in San Diego right now or driving towards Los Angeles?
No, I'm in L.A. this morning, and I was listening to you yesterday morning when I was driving up, and I heard that rejoin that you just played with Mark Chernoff, and I've been following your adventures over the last week and change. I'm very jealous that you keep going back to Israel. I'm 56 years old, and I've still never been to Israel. And my shiksa girlfriend doesn't want to go to Israel, and I'm trying to get her to go.
Now, does she not want to go because she doesn't like Israel and Bibi, or she just doesn't like, it's too long of a trip maybe? I don't know.
No, it's more that she has like typical American fear of going to Israel and saying, well, you can't go there now. I mean, look what's going on over there. And I am of the opinion like now would be the best time to go.
Which is right. That's right.
Yeah. And so.
And ultimately, for your shiksa girlfriend, it's a heck of a lot safer, believe it or not, than taking any one of about 10 subways in New York City. I mean that.
Oh, I believe that. I mean, listen, I realize the whole world is not really on social media, and that the things that we see on social media are not necessarily like they might be filmed and part of what you see in that moment, but it doesn't mean that all of New York City happens to be like this one little isolated area and incident. But I would believe that being in Israel right now would be, I would feel very safe going over there. And but I haven't been able to convince her yet, because every time we talk about going on some sort of I would call it a more exotic trip, which we never go on because I'm married to the freaking microphone and I never leave. But if we would, she has all these other places she wants to go. I'm like, no, we got to go to Israel. She just doesn't understand what you've seen, what you've experienced, and I know what I'd like to see and experience.
It is amazing. And listen, you are busy these days. I mean, before we get to our career conversation, even in Los Angeles today, the big sports story across the country is LeBron is leaving. Will it be Golden State, stay in the state? Will it be Cleveland? Will it be Miami? And then, I'm not exactly how far you are from Santa Clara, but there's a big soccer game about to take place tonight, the U.S. taking on Bosnia. So you, right now, your city, your state is the center of sports talk.
Oh, Sid, let me tell you, I think when you're in New York, and I know this is the way it was for me when I was in Florida, when I was in New York, when I was East Coast based. I mean, I really thought of people in California. First, I thought of them as being slow and dumb. And then I thought of them as being, not passionate sports fans, show up late, leave early, all these kinds of things. Every perception I had 25 years ago of LA, the West Coast, was completely wrong. We think about New York, and again, back in the day, you're fighting to get a cab on the streets. The grocery stores, they're tighter. You're fighting to get to different products and stuff. Just New York back then, to me, seemed like 100 miles an hour and vibrating at all times. Southern California, Sydney, I'm telling you, it may not be as public transportation, although there is a subway system in LA, and it may not be fighting for cabs. And the freeways may be gigantic, but there's so many cars. But people out here grind, they hustle, they're smart, they're competitive. And when it comes to sports, the fan bases are insanely passionate. Whether, I cover the Lakers and the Dodgers in particular, and the Rams and USC football. And these programs, these organizations, and these fan bases are really serious, and they're really vast. And when it comes to sports right now, we are in an epicenter because, Sid, LeBron James yesterday, I'm on the air live at 9:01 a.m. yesterday when this news breaks that LeBron is gone. And half the people absolutely love him and appreciate the fact that he brought the Lakers a championship because the post-Kobe era was so bad in Lakers history. And then there's another half of the people that are like, get him out of here. It's time to build a new team. I look at the Knicks and I look at the stars that the Knicks have, but how long it took for the Knicks to achieve a championship and really make a true championship run. The Lakers have to start over, and the only way to do that is to get rid of this overbearing presence that has had control of the organization. And when you talk about the World Cup, Sid, last night, I'm in downtown LA at a fancy Mexican restaurant called Javier's. This is not street tacos, man. This is like high-end, 5-star, super fancy Mexican restaurant, and the place is just jam-packed. And when Mexico scores these goals in the World Cup, the place is on fire. And so you've got Canada who's made it through. You've got Mexico who's made it through. And tonight, the U.S., you guys are up. You guys are on the stage. And Santa Clara is up in, it's a little bit south of San Francisco where the 49ers play. But SoFi Stadium, where the Rams play, has also been hosting so many of these games. So the World Cup out here, I'm presuming it's the exact same way, given that the finals at MetLife. The town, the state, the world of sports on fire right now out here.
No, it is. That's you just really explained it perfectly. All that's going on out there. And also very similar to New York, not just the rabid sports fan and the hustle and the bustle, is you guys also cheat on your elections, because somewhere in L.A. today, Spencer Pratt is walking around looking for a job when he should be the next mayor.
Well,
every time you and I have these conversations, I always say the same thing to you. If you want to talk about Tommy Edmonds, who just returned from injury from the Dodgers, and you want to talk about the spectacular diving play he made at third base last night against the Oakland A's, or I guess now you call them the Sacramento Athletics, on the way to Las Vegas, I am your guy. When it comes to talking about politics, and you mentioned Spencer Pratt, I'm like, who is that?
No. You see, you say that, but it's not really true. See, one of the things I love most about you, and by the way, your son Justin would make sure you know who Spencer Pratt is. Justin's the real deal, like us. You told me, I mean that. He's a great kid. He's such a smart kid.
Look, Sydney, my son Justin is one of these kids that gets his information from TikTok and can't wait to remove himself from the state of California. When I say to him, I say, gas prices are so expensive. I wish the war would come to an end so gas prices would come down. You know what he says to me? He goes, it's not about the war, you big dummy. He goes, it's about the taxes in the state of California. It's Gavin Newsom's fault. So my son...
Yeah, he's a genius.
My son gets all of it from TikTok.
Yeah, he's right. So wherever he gets it from, Justin is a very smart boy. But you told me way back when, as I get set to get inducted in October, that, listen, we're doing sports, Sid, but it's not all about sports. It's great that you know that, I'll never forget this, you had a fight one time at a golf course with Sandy Koufax down in South Florida. He said, it's great that you know that Richard Hamilton's nickname is Rip, but not everybody knows that. And I remember at the time I was like, what are you, stupid? Everybody knows that. What I'm going to tell you is that a lot of the stuff you told me 30 years ago, if not all of it, was right. And as my career moved along, and I made that switch from sports to politics, even though I do a ton of sports on this show every morning, what you wanted me to become and our show to become was more than that. No matter what the genre is, sports, politics. Scott, when I started to do that, that's when my career took off. So what I'm telling you is, in the mid-1990s, when no one was saying that, you did, and you're right.
Yeah, and well, thank you. And you know, listen, you and I, and I know you said this at the beginning when we were first coming on, I know your audience adores you and loves you. When we were younger and we had this vision of what we wanted to be, and we were both crazy sports fans, but we both had a lot of strong opinions about other stuff. And in the right venue, you can really do that. And you have achieved a place in your career where you've been able to do it. Listen, when you and I were at NEW, we were tasked, if you will, with trying to stay on course, but we didn't really know what the course was. And honestly, neither did management, because they had a lot of outlandish, comedic, controversial type broadcasts that were happening on that station at that time. And you and I, we were that. We incorporated sports. I mean, I'll never forget the one time the Lakers won the NBA championship, and Shaquille O'Neal was making a tour around New York. He was doing the Today Show and Good Morning America and what have you. And he came to us because we had created a relationship with Shaquille O'Neal back in our South Florida days when we were working at CBS.
You're being very nice when you say, wait, the truth is he loved you. All those guys did. To your credit, Tiger Woods, Pete Sampras, Wayne Gretzky, especially Shaq, they really did love you. So thank you. It was we, but it really was you. And I think you're about to tell the audience that he made his way to our studios, right?
Well, he made his way into our studio. And if you remember, we spent about an hour with Shaquille O'Neal, and we were doing what you and I did, man. We were funny. We were singing songs with Shaquille O'Neal. He was having the best time ever. He wouldn't leave, you know? And when it was over, two things I'll never forget happened. One, WFAN called, because we were sister stations at WNEW. WFAN called and said, how the hell did you guys do that? And can you guys get us Shaquille to come over here to WFAN? And we were like, how do we do that? We had a relationship with the guy. And as far as can we get him over there? Not really. You know, he's but then the manager, this guy named Jeremy Coleman, who was our station manager at the time, he brought me into his office and he goes, what the hell was that? And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, who is that guy? What are you doing for an hour talking to this guy? And I was like, that's Shaquille O'Neal. He's the biggest star in sports. He just won the championship, and he's making his rounds, and he came to us. And this guy said to me, he goes, don't ever do that again. You see, we didn't really have direction.
No.
We knew that we were good, but we were on a station that really could couldn't deal with what we brought to the table.
No.
And now you're in an environment now where you can do what you're doing, talk sports because you're passionate about it, and everybody knows you love the Knicks and the Rangers, and apparently now you love the Yankees, okay? Which cracks me up. I'll never forget the Yankees were playing the Mets for the first ever Subway Series World Series, and we went to the game, and we're sitting in right field. You're wearing Mets gear, I'm wearing Yankee gear.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I want you to know, Peter, when I have these discussions, whether it's Brian Kilmeade or Fox News on Sunday, I'm not patronizing you. But I think about you because that's how much I respect your foreign policy, your international intelligence. When it comes to all these issues, we had a big fight one time about Ukraine and Russia. But the truth is, at least on my program, you know as much, if not more, than anyone. And you've heard me for a while now being pretty critical of the man I love, maybe more than anybody, President Trump, because whether it's Iran, how he deals with Israel, how he deals with Bibi, I don't love what I'm seeing. And I got people at the station telling me, I said, you don't get it. I think I do get it. Peter King, what do you think?
Well, first of all, let me wish my son Sean a happy birthday. He's great guy, great son.
I love your kid, Sean. I love him, and he loves the same musical groups that me and Lewis love. We love that about Sean.
And he also loves the Philadelphia Flyers, so there's something wrong there, but what can I tell you? Anyway, as far as President Trump, I think there are some basic overall problems with his approach to foreign policy. It's not a real estate deal. These issues are complicated. And when you're dealing with Iran, you can't expect to go in and win a war overnight. There's no such thing as an easy war. That's certainly the case when you're facing a country of 90 million people and it's ruled by fanatics. This isn't like Venezuela, where you have a few gangsters at the top, and if you remove them, the problem is removed. This is an embedded issue that's been there for decades, in some cases centuries. And I think if you're going to do that, you have to, first of all, get the American people on your side. By the way, I fully support it, going after Iran. Don't get me wrong. But if you're going to do that, I think you should put more effort into getting Congress on his side. Tell the American people this is not going to be easy. Don't say because the stock market's doing well or the 401ks are doing well that it's going to go well. It's not. The average person out there is hurting. And I think the people should be more supportive of the war. But I understand why they're not, because the president didn't mobilize them, didn't tell them that sacrifices may be needed. Also, allies can drive you crazy, so-called allies, including NATO. But you have to find a way early on to at least get them on your side partially. For instance, he went into the war in Iran without even telling anyone in NATO about it. And then we could have used their minesweepers. We could have used that. And Reagan had trouble even with Thatcher. But somehow a leader has to get as much behind him and then go forward. I'm not saying give up your principles. So it's a complicated world. Also, I don't know what Witkoff is doing in Ukraine, what he's doing in the Middle East. They have no concept of the historical event. He's not Henry Kissinger. He's not. We need people in there who are in this for the long haul and are going to tell the American people this could be tough, but it's worth it. Here's why. I think it's absolutely essential that we take away Iran's nuclear weapons. But then when things aren't going well, be honest with the American people. Otherwise, people start to lose faith and the whole war effort can go down. So anyway, that's what I'm saying. But overall, Donald Trump has done a great job. But it certainly what he did last summer going into Iran, that was brilliant. Venezuela, brilliant. The pressure on Cuba really makes a lot of sense. But you can't cut off all your allies, as difficult as they can be to deal with. Find ways to use pressure to get them on your side, because there are times when you need them. We need them now in the Middle East. And how we went into that war without knowing the only real weapon that Iran has is the Strait of Hormuz. And we've given it to them. And now they can do that whenever they want.
Yep,
I mean,
they could.
And that's the problem. And to keep saying that we're bombing them, that they don't really care that much unless we go all out.
Right.
And also we gotta reclaim the straits. If you have to use NATO to do it, use ourselves. We can't allow these fanatical mullahs to be controlling the world's economy.
And, Pete, it could be both. I mean, look, I am here to say that President Trump, I still believe, is the best president ever. I know you people think I'm crazy. Abe Lincoln and Ronald Reagan and Democrats, they hear that. They think I belong in an insane asylum, and maybe I do. But I really do believe that. But it could be both. He could be the greatest ever. And at the same time, not doing a great job, especially like you just talked about, communicating when it comes to the Iran war. Finish the damn job. If you're going to start it, finish it. Stop telling me about economic indicators. Finish the damn job. It could be both. He could still be great, but not hitting a home run with this effort, right?
Yes, and also you have to stand with your allies. We have never had a better ally than Israel or Bibi Netanyahu. And now when things start to go south a bit, now he's taking shots at Netanyahu. Well, he's still saying good things about Mamdani, still saying good things about Putin, still saying good things about Xi. And yet the one ally we've had, no matter what, with thick and thin, is Bibi Netanyahu and Israel. And actually all the leaders in Israel, but especially Netanyahu. And they are really the only country in the Middle East we can truly count on. And when other countries in there, those Arab states, if they see us backing away from Israel, they'll go, God, if he's backing away from Israel, is he really going to stick with Qatar? Is he really going to stick with the UAE? Is he really going to stick with the Saudis? Now, I have no great regard to any of those countries, but yet the only way you're going to keep them on your side and have them available in time of need is if they see that you're loyal to your allies and you're probably loyal to them, and so you do it by fear, intimidation, whatever. But if they see us backing away from Israel, or even after he meets with Xi, he starts walking away from Taiwan. You can't be giving up your allies. You have to stand firm. That's what Reagan did. That's in many ways what Roosevelt did. We can go down the whole list. But you have to show that you believe in something and you believe in allies. And no matter what happens in the Middle East, we're going to stand with Israel. Not saying have Syria take on Hezbollah.
Come on,
that's insanity.
Ridiculous. Syria's got no army. So what do you think about Russia and Ukraine? I mean, I don't know, Pete. I feel like in 5 years we'll be having the same conversation. Are you surprised that it's gone on this long?
I'm surprised. I really, again, this is where we've disagreed. I think that Ukraine has made a valiant effort. I mean, nobody ever would have thought.
We don't disagree. No. We don't disagree. They made a valiant effort. They have embarrassed. They've embarrassed Putin. All I've said all along is they can't win because of attrition, because the Russians have more people, more weaponry, and more money. So eventually, whether it's a year, 5 years, or 10 years, the Russians may suffer a ton of casualties, and they are, and Ukraine may put up an incredible fight, and they are, but there's no realistic path to Ukrainian win, is all I've said.
Well, there is. If the United States and Europe sticks with Ukraine, I think they can force Russia into submission. Not that they're going to be defeated per se, but they will make a deal which is in everyone's benefit, especially Ukraine. I mean, you can't expect Ukraine. Remember, this goes back centuries. That's what I'm saying. There's a history to all these things. There's no way the Ukrainian people, after all this, are going to make these great concessions to Russia, which will just mean that Russia is going to take over the country. That's why when they had that explosion in the Oval Office, when Zelensky said to J.D. Vance, who I'm not crazy about, that, we have to have some security forces to guarantee that if there is an agreement, Russia's not going to violate it. And of course, Vance went crazy yelling at Zelensky. The fact is that Ukraine, whether it's Ukraine, any of these countries, not any of them, many of them, they have long histories. And if Russia does win and does ultimately take over Ukraine, then they're going to have influence in Poland. They're going to have influence in countries like France and Germany and others are going to steer their economies more toward Russia. So I think if Ukraine is willing to fight, it's not for us to tell them that they can't fight, since they're fighting for the same cause we're fighting for.
Yeah, it's true. Well, let's get to New York City. First of all, what a terrible story in your county about this guy. This is terrible. He met his wife and his sister-in-law on the same day. I think it was back in 2016. And according to reports, he married the sister, but he always had this really odd fascination with the sister-in-law. And it turns out that he calls her. He says, listen, I need help moving a piano. She comes over. He comes up from behind her. He attacks her. He rapes her. I think he raped her when she was alive and dead. Strangles her to death. I mean, look, you guys are the safest county in the world, thanks to people like you and Cairo and Bruce and Ryder and Ann Donnelly, all those great people. But you've got some of the weirdest and nastiest crimes. This is a horrible story.
It's absolutely horrible. My understanding is that after he completed all this horror, he calmly called the police and basically
turned himself in. He did, yeah. Yeah.
Very calmly, though. Listen, all I can say is I don't know if you can describe that to Nassau County or just to always going to be some wackos in human nature, but I have to now make a concession to you. He only lives about a mile or so away from the Gilgo murderer, so I don't know. There's something in the water out there.
Wait, so
I don't know.
He's in Massapequa, too?
Yeah, actually North Massapequa. Yeah.
Oh, my God. So you got the Gilgo killer, you've got this maniac, and Brian Kilmeade.
Right, and they're both constituents of mine. Right, and of the three, to me, Brian Kilmeade is the most dangerous person in that whole area. But.
Oh, my God. How is my girl Janine Driscoll doing?
She's doing fine. I mean, she's really doing well. She had a big fundraiser last night. She's really, listen, she's working hard, and that race is one which I think is going to be under the radar for a while, but I expect Janine to win. She's what everyone wants in a candidate. She's honest. She's hardworking. She's from the neighborhood. She's a regular, and yet extremely intelligent. She's a big lawyer. She's argued cases before the United States Court of Appeals. She's an elected official, been elected twice as receiver of taxes. And, people say receiver of taxes, what's the big deal? That's what Al D'Amato was. That's how he started his career as receiver of taxes. Don Claiborne, who became the supervisor later, he was a receiver of taxes. And so it's a key position. You're dealing with people all the time. You have your finger on the pulse. She's got a great family. She's a son of the NYPD. And I told you, the only negative mark is one of her sons, who was a football player, broke Joe Cairo's collarbone or something when Joe was reffing a game.
No kidding.
And they collided, yeah. And Joe didn't know that. When Janine was nominated, Joe didn't know, but he didn't find out until later on. That was her son to put him in the hospital.
Oh, that's funny. And the other guy, Mike LaPetri, was in these studios just 2 days ago, Monday morning, my first day back. LaPetri was here, and he only lost by 3 points last time to Tom Swazi. So there's reason to believe that he'll do even better this time. And if he does, he's going to win.
Yeah, Michael Petrie, that was raised 2 years ago. For the most part, we overlooked it. We're really focusing on Anthony D'Esposito. That was all the effort. And Mike was looked upon just as a guy who was almost like filling in, making the race. And then on election night, God, he was, 2.5 points or 3 points he lost by. So, no, the feeling is that with a concerted effort, and he's a hard worker. He's everywhere. He's all over the place. And he got a lot of help from Vicky Palladino in Queens. And, of course, Joe Cairo carried it in Nassau County. So Jesse Garcia and in Suffolk. But Mike does it. He's a hard worker. He's out there. And I think he's going to win. I certainly think Janine is going to win. And Bruce is going to run extremely well on Long Island. I've seen polls where he's doing exceptionally well on Long Island. And he's going to, I still believe strongly, Bruce is going to be our next governor. But I just wish Republicans would stop saying he should be doing this, he should be doing that. Believe me, he's doing everything. He's working at it. And we don't need the naysayers making excuses. He's right now closer to Hochul and Lee Zeldin was 4 years ago. And Lee only lost by 6 points. Bruce can make that up. I think not easily, but he can certainly make it up. At this stage against Laura Curran, who was a very popular county executive, he was further behind than he is now. So he's going everywhere, and he's building up support, and he's running really, in many ways, a different type campaign. He's appealing to all different groups and organizations. He's in every community. You follow him on Facebook. He's in every upstate county. He's all over New York City. Joe Cairo convened a meeting last week. We had all of the local Republican elected officials and leaders, community leaders in the room. Bruce has the support. He's going to do it. And I think all of us, hopefully, when Bruce becomes governor, he'll invite us to the inaugural ball.
Yes.
He won't forget about us, He won't say, Sid who?
Not Bruce. And I agree with you. I get that, too, from Republicans. They're like, well, he's not in Utica enough. He's not in Syracuse enough. Shut up. He's in those places all the time. You're clearly not following what he does on a daily basis. He's actually done an amazing job, still doing a great job as a Nassau County executive,
Absolutely.
Right? And also campaigning for governor, but of course he is set up to succeed with people like you and Joe and all the fine folks in Nassau County around him. As always, Pete King, amazing job. I love you. Thank you so much.
Okay, you got it. Congratulations on the Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Peter, and happy birthday to Sean, your son. He's a great kid. We love him here, too. So
Okay.
Thank you, buddy. Pete King right there. Happy birthday to Sean King, who's a great kid, his son. And, he loves you, too. I was about to say, Lou, he loves you, too. He also loves a lot of that alternative music that you and I love. So we'll come back. We'll play a song for Sean. We're about to wrap things up.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Were you my brought up initially?
Yeah.
Was it Matt Meany?
Well, it was Matt Meany, and then
it was you.
I came in, yeah.
And then Lewis, okay. Great show today. You know, I started out early this morning in my, I do this all the time. I apologize. Today, July 1st. July, we're here already. How about that? 6 years ago today, July 1st, 2020. This is the third time I'm saying it today. I promise that's it. But my dad passed away. So I started off this morning saying I'm going to dedicate the show to my father today. I had a good cry at about, I think it was the 8 o'clock hour, right? Rich Lowry sent me a nice message. He's got a buddy named Mark Green, not the guy that ran for mayor, who listens every day. And he said, man, so I feel about my father listening to Sid. It's not exclusive to me, of course. A loved one passing away, mom, dad, child, whatever it may be. But I just don't get over stuff that quickly. I'm having a hard time with this one. I am.
It's your dad, dude. It makes sense.
Yeah. But I know people who've lost parents and they don't cry every time the day pops up. I'm just a better person, more sensitive. What can I tell you? I don't know.
Well, you say it all the time. It doesn't get any easier.
It really doesn't. It does on a daily basis, And Noam, who's great on this show, he just lost his father. What, about a year ago?
Yeah, and I was feeling the same way you are now. Like you have all these great things happening to you, and there's nobody else who enjoys it more than your mom and dad. It'll never be that way, right?
It's true.
Everybody around you is going to congratulate you and be happy for you.
My wife has been around for 35 years.
I'm not suggesting she doesn't, but I'm saying there's nothing like the pride of a parent.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. And I had that moment last week when my youngest one graduated, and he had a tough time starting out in high school, and I was thinking, oh my God, my father would have loved this moment. Not even necessarily to be at the graduation, but just to see it happen, hear that it happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, you never get over it.
No, you really don't. Congratulations to Jeremy.
Oh, thank you.
Great job. You got a beautiful family. No, you don't get over it. It's you get to move on after today, and I'm not going to think about it July 4th or July 5th.
No, but,
Actually, I may. I'm going to my mother's house. You know what my mother did?
What'd she do?
This is unbelievable. She took the last text my father sent her, and the last text he sent her, literally like an hour before he died, was, listen, Naomi, I love you. You're the love of my life, and thank you for all of our kids and grandkids and great-grandkids, and you gave me such a beautiful life, but I may be losing this battle. And if I do lose this battle, I just want you to know that I love you. And my mother took that text and framed it. So when I walk in my house upstate Thursday night, I guess I will be thinking, and I'm there until Sunday, that house that my dad loved so much, in the living room is this big frame of my dad's last text.
Yeah, what a huge gift he gave your mother, because, you have so many friends, and I do, who their parents, essentially dropped dead. I mean, there were awful moments where nobody got to say goodbye. He got to say goodbye to his wife. I mean, that's incredible. That's a gift.
Yes.
It's a huge gift.
It was also during the time of COVID, so I couldn't see my father. He FaceTimed me the night before he died. I told you the story. I said, Dad, it's you're tired. It's okay. It's okay. I take that back. But anyway, we got the memories, Noam. So,
how old was he when he passed away?
My father was somewhere between 87 and 89. You couldn't believe him. He had some,
But he wanted to be younger? Or, he told you he was younger?
I don't know if he was younger or older. I have no idea. We always talk about that in the family. How old really was Harvey? We don't know, but he was in his late 80s. Your dad was in his 90s, right?
Yeah, but that generation, a lot of times they didn't even know exactly when their birthdays were.
No idea. They had these bogus birth certificates, and they had the wrong name on the person. Like my grandfather, my dad's dad, his name, we called him Meyer his whole life. And then I saw his birth certificate when he died. His name was Max.
Yeah. I had a grandfather who came from the UK, and they also didn't know when his birthday was, but he was so proud once he got here to be American that he made his birthday July 4th.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday to him coming up. But we're done for today, ladies and gentlemen. We got one more show tomorrow. We are off on Friday.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
In this 25th anniversary year of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation continues to honor America's heroes. Heroes like Fire Lieutenant Michael Wells, who was inspired by 9/11 to serve his community. After 14 dedicated years of service, he lost his battle with occupational cancer, leaving behind his wife, Katie, and their 3 children. Tunnel to Towers honored Lieutenant Wells by paying off the family's mortgage in recognition of his sacrifices. Donate $11 monthly and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org.